Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
What is up, everyone? Welcome to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily after an absolutely awesome night of playoff hockey at Canada Life Centre. Your Winnipeg Jets up 2-0 in their best-of-7 series against the St. Louis Blues after a 2-1 thriller last night at the downtown barn. We are going to be all over it on today's show. Very much looking forward to bringing in Kevin Sawyer. We've been missing Kev on the broadcast the last few days, but we're not going to be missing him on WST. He's locked in on the Jets. He's going to join us to give his thoughts on the first two games of the series. We'll have more with Jeff Hamilton coming up a little later on. And then a little practice report from Connor and Jacob, who were down at the facility today. So we'll get the latest on that. We'll hear from Coach Arneal and full reaction from last night's thriller at Canada Life Centre. Outside of the Jets game, and I think in many other markets, they will not realize the quality of game we saw last night between the Jets and the St. Louis Blues, who left it all out there. Because last night was one of the great nights for hockey fans. I mean, that is what the first round of the playoffs is all about. I mean, I don't need to tell anyone watching this program about the quality, intensity, the battles in that Winnipeg-St. Louis game. Elsewhere last night, though, you have the Capitals blow a 2-0 lead to the Montreal Canadiens. And Alex Ovechkin, who we just spent the entire year talking about getting to 895 goals, the greatest goal scorer of all time in the regular season, scores his first ever overtime winner. Could not believe that stat. But Ovi with an OT winner. Then we get Dallas and Colorado going to OT. Dallas winning to even the series at 1. That's great news for Jet fans. I mean, what do we want in that series? We want overtime every game, and we want that thing to go the distance. So it would have been tough to see happening if Colorado was up 2-0 heading back home. So great game between those two teams. Huge win for Dallas. And then, I mean, that Oiler-King game was one for the ages. A crazy comeback in the third period, and then a late goal by the Kings sends the Oiler fans home disappointed, but probably pretty optimistic over what they were able to do. And just on an individual basis, the goal that Connor McDavid scored to tie that game up at 5, there is one dude on the planet that can do that, and that is 97. It was just an absolutely incredible night of playoff hockey. Of course, our focus is on the Winnipeg Jets, who took care of business at home again last night in a game that we'll be talking about for a few days because the series does not resume again until Thursday. Listen, just before we hear from the Jets and bring in Michael Remis, big thanks to all the sponsors that make WST happen each and every day. Of course, our partners in Coolbet Canada, Princess Auto. Great to have Prairie Toyota dealers and KFC on board for this playoff ride. Of course, Rolly's Transfer, St. Vital Dental Center, Canadian Club, and Manitoba Battery. Let's Do It Travel, Aikens Lake Wilderness Lodge, F Apparel, Royal Sports, Boston Pizza, Little Brown Jug. We'll get to a Breezy Bend Golf Report a little later on. Fan feedback, courtesy of fansfirst.ca. And the why not question of the day for Not Auto Corp over at Waverly and McGillivray. Welcome to everybody in chat. Hit that thumbs up button. If you are new around these streets, hit that subscribe button. We'd love to see you join us on the reg. We're here every day, 1 p.m. Central, win or lose. But as we've been doing a lot this year, Remis, it's fun coming back on a Winnipeg Sports Talk after a big win, especially a playoff win in the fashion that we saw last night at Canada Life Centre.
Yeah, what an atmosphere it was yet again at Canada Life Centre. Has the whiteout bringing it, showing that it continues to be the best atmosphere in sports. And it was just another great third period for the Jets. You thought that power play goal in the dying seconds of the first period, maybe a previous Jets team, it could have sunk them. It could have demoralized them. But not this Jets team. They always believe, they always stick to their system. They don't waver from it. And in the third period, It was almost like a carbon copy of game one, except they scored, a bit earlier instead with 2 minutes into the period instead of 3 minutes left of the period. And it's Kyle Connor again, the game-winning goal, finding open space, getting hit by Scheifele behind the net, makes a nice play to get it to Perfetti, who finds Connor and just wires it. What a release he has. And Kyle Connor with back-to-back game-winning goals. And I see every American hockey fan in my Twitter timeline saying, how could they not have played this guy in the Four Nations final and played Matthew Tkachuk on one leg and play Chris Kreider with his 20 points this year? Kyle Connor, he's top 5 in scoring on the season, and they didn't play him. U.S. fans are pulling their hair out. How could they not play him? But Jets fans raising their hands in the air, and it was euphoria last night at Canada Life Center. What a game, Winnipeg Jets hockey.
Yeah, it was, I mean, it's funny you bring up that goal at the end of the first period, because that was a real kick in the nuts. I mean, the team had played a great first period. They were up 1-0. And, for that one to go in with 0.8 seconds left, you're right. In the past, I think that would have really buckled the team. And to be honest, buckled a lot of the fans, too. It was funny talking to folks in the concourse in between the first and second periods. And, while it was a bummer and people were disappointed, I think we're now getting to the point where even people that may have been, fatalists, if you will, or part of the doomsday cult, as I've referred to it in the past, that are always just kind of assuming the worst or just spend so much time talking about bad things that have happened in the past, you can't appreciate the present. I kind of think this team now, albeit after winning a President's Trophy and winning these first 2 games in the fashion that they have I think against people's maybe natural instincts, are feeling like just bought in and enough belief. Like, I think this team has earned that belief. And that was the conversation at the intermission. The team's still playing really well. They're not having to come back from down a goal like they did in game number 1. Unfortunate, but we've seen this team battle back from worse. And then they just went out and continued to do what they did all game long. Help out their goaltender, preventing very many high-danger scoring chances. And when there were any, Hellebuck was there for them. And continued to generate, quality on the other end. I thought Binnington last night was awesome, Remis. I mean, this was a game that, were it not for a couple saves of Binner, I mean, could have been 1 or 2 goals, maybe even heading into this third period. But, with the way St. Louis played, and I've got a lot of time for what Montgomery's team did and tried to do. I mean, they were hitting everything, as were the Jets. I mean, that was one of the the physicality was a huge story throughout the game. And I guess we may as well mention this right now. Logan Stanley with one of the best games of his career and an absolutely monster hit on Jordan Kyrou early in the game that brought the entire arena out of his seats and sent Kyrou back to the bench for a considerable period of time. Now, Kyrou did come back out for that late power play, and I believe was on the ice when they scored, but he was not really impactful for the rest of the way. And you do wonder what the train tracks on him, what that might mean for the rest of the series. But Stan got the 3rd star in the game last night. And with a lead, he didn't play very much in the third period, I think about 2 minutes. But that is exactly what I think the Jets, what fans have wanted from Logan Stanley. Play a steady game, don't make any big mistakes, and use your 6'7" frame to physically impose your will on players on the other team. It hadn't happened enough. And I mean, listen, it was one game, a great game for him. But the way that he played last night, he made a difference in that game last night on a real positive. And I know there's some people that, planted their flags in the ground. They talk shit about Stanley as much as they can. Honest to God, you want the difference in a 6 defenseman? Look at the Oiler King game and what Stanley did last night for the Jets. Stanley went out, did everything he was asked for, was a physical presence, made a number of hits, made some good outlet passes, didn't cost his team anything, and made a huge positive contribution when it came to the physical element of the game. And the Oilers are pulling out Brown and playing him not even 5 minutes for the entire game. This was a big, big night for Stan and Remis. I think a lot of the people that have criticized him in the past, myself included, look at that version of Logan Stanley last night with what he was able to do in a very tough, hard-hitting game and say, if you're going to bring that in every night, a lot of the criticism won't be around. Just take care of the puck, hit guys, and that was a huge part of that first period, and I think you were still feeling it as we went into the second and third as the hit parade kept going.
Yeah, a lot of the criticism about Logan Stanley last couple years has been he's 6'7", but certainly doesn't play like it, and he's been laying big hits going back to the last game of the regular season against Anaheim laid a big one, and that hit last night. I mean, you felt that one no matter where you were sitting, and it was like the light version of the biggest hit of all time, Dustin Byfuglien on Mark Stone. I think because it was the same area. And Carey, he had been burning the Jets in game one. He was their top player, and that is sending a message saying, hey, you're not just going to come flying down the wing untouched. You're going to have something to think about. And Logan Stanley hadn't really had that club in his bag throughout his career, and I don't know if it's maturity, staying healthy, his spot in the lineup, or Luke Schenn was asked, did he have any influence on him adding this part of his game? But in playoff hockey, everyone has to raise their level 10% or whatever it is, and Logan Stanley certainly did that last night. Again, hitting guys, he's throwing shots on goal, he's making outlet passes and not carrying the puck up all the way. He's playing within himself, and huge impact on the game, and a well-deserved third star in the building last night.
Yeah. Now, listen, Jeff Bose says Winnipeg media has been horrible to Stan. Thank God for Arneal. Jeff, let's do a quick fact check here. I don't think Winnipeg social media has been horrible to Stan. A big part of the fan base has been, and listen, everyone can be critics. Everyone can have guys they think that'll work well that, or guys that aren't fit in. I mean, that's part of covering and following teams. But listen, all the vitriol for Logan Stanley sure as hell wasn't coming from the media. Come on. And listen, there's always a guy that has been somewhat of a whipping boy until he's not. And I don't know, last night seemed to be a very important moment for him, for the team. Because as I said, if he plays like that, there won't be the critics that, have been very loud for a number of years. And yes, did it take him a long time to really contribute in the fashion that he did last night? Sure. And everyone's got their takes on development and all that. I get it. But living in the present right now in this series against the St. Louis Blues, Logan Stanley was an impactful, positive factor last night. And if you can get that from your sixth defenseman in the Stanley Cup playoffs, that is a very good sign, because I will point you out to a number of teams, including one in particular from Northern Alberta that lost last night. That would kill for a guy that could come in that role right now and do what he did, as opposed to them basically going into this series with 5 defensemen. Obviously, that Ekholm injury is really tough. I love what Issue Boy Bruce said. I mean, not everyone is, a fan of every single player, but I mean, this is it. But Bruce said, I'm rooting for him because obviously he's on the team. And I think a lot of the questions as to why they had invested what they've done, why they continued throwing him out there, were answered last night in some ways. So anyways, it's a hit we'll be talking about for a long time. Maybe, outside of the goals and the end of the win, Remis, maybe the wildest moment of the game was when they showed the 3 different replays of that hit, because he blew Carey up and then the play went on for a long period of time without breaking to a whistle.
Yeah.
And then it was a TV timeout, and the game production spent about the first 15 seconds before they went to do whatever they had to do, showing the different angles of that hit. And to your point, it might have been the hardest hit we've seen since Buff. Certainly, I think it's the hardest non-Byfuglien hit we have seen. And then, you can decide where it ranks up with other Buff hits. Obviously, the Mark Stone hit is the standard and probably will always be.
Yes, that was that one got me out of my seat. The Stan went too in that moment. Just what you'd seen from Carey and him running into the wall. That is Logan Stanley. I'm not usually an advocate, Huss, for showing replays like during play, but if there ever was an argument, they should have just started rolling the replay like in a small box in the corner during that game, because I was dying to see it again. Again, got people out of their seats, got people into the game even more so, because the game, started off kind of similar to game one with the Blues coming out really hard, and that seemed to calm things down a little, and they're throwing the weight around all game, and just another great performance in the third period from the Jets. But that Stan hit, we'll be talking about that one for a while, I'm sure.
Yeah, listen, we're going to get to some clips, including KFC putting up the puck in the locker room. And Kevin Sawyer is going to come up in just a few minutes. We'll have a practice report from Connor and Jacob down from the rink for you. And we'll also be welcoming in Jeff Hamilton. Hey, listen, got to shout out our friends at Rolly's Transfer, family owned and operated for over 60 years, and the most trusted name in moving services in Manitoba. If you and your family are on the move in the coming months, head on over to rollies.com, click on the top right corner, request an estimate, and put in the promo code WST for a special discount on moving services and moving supplies. And then, let them know when and where you're planning on moving and what needs to be moved. And our friends at Rollies will turn it around real quick with a great quote and get you locked in to get the white glove treatment on your next move that Rollies is famous for. For your next move, make it Rollies, the most trusted name in the game. Find out more, request an estimate today at rollies.com. Listen, St. Vital Dental Center is the place to get your smile looking great. And I know there's going to be a lot of smiling folks over at St. Vital Dental Center today. I saw Dr. Terry at the game number 1. A lot of Jet fans there. And I have a feeling those dental appointments will even be more fun today with people talking about the game in and around there. For all your dental needs, St. Vital Dental Center has been there for generations. Check them out online at stvitaldentalcenter.ca. Everything from, checkups, cleanings, fillings, root canals, all the way to things like dental implants. And they are handling customers and patients from 6 months all the way to 100. For all your dental needs, our friends at St. Vital Dental Center are waiting for you. 167 St. Anne's, convenient free parking right behind the building. You can find out more, make an appointment at stvitalddental.ca. A big cheers to our friends at Canadian Club. Of course, you're heading into the liquor store these days. You're seeing, a lot of familiar things not there. The one thing that you will see if we're talking buying Canadian is the OG, the original Canadian Club since 1848, Canada's standard for Canadian whiskey. Pick it up at your local Manitoba liquor marts, including Canadian Club 100% Rye, Canadian Club Classic. And it won't be long before we're sipping those CC and ginger ale premixed cocktails in cans at Princess Auto Stadium, as Canadian Club is the official spirit of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. I'll tell you what, nobody in that building last night needed a boost. The fans were energized, almost as if they just come from Manitoba Battery. Donnie and the gang have been powering us through the winter, getting their cars and trucks from point A to point B. But now, as it's playoff time, we look ahead to spring and summer. You got to get ready for fishing season with your boat, your ATV, and all the other fun stuff that we look forward to using in the spring and summer. Get ready for that day. Manitoba Battery's got batteries for everything. You'll shop local, get the best prices in town. And they've got free delivery, too, with any purchase over $60. It's just that easy. Pop by and see a Manitoba Battery, Logan Avenue, Dovercourt Drive, or order online for free delivery today at manitobabattery.com. All right, before we bring in Kevin Sawyer, let's get to last night. Listen, before we even hear from the coach, this was the scene. Shout out to Sarah and the runway crew for getting this. Kyle Connor with the winner last night on KFC night, putting up the puck in the dressing room as the Winnipeg Jets win their second playoff game in search of 16.
Hey, boys, that's a big win. Stan, big hit. Bucky, a lot of big saves. It's got to go to my boy. Hey. Oh, yeah!
Great job tonight, boys. We're going to stick with it. Obviously, it was pretty tight checking, but we came together in the third and we're ready to go. Way to lock it down at the end, too. Great job.
Right over Michigan. We'll come break.
All right, so no more jackets in the playoffs, Reem. It's pucks. And you get 16 of those up on the wall, you're having a parade in downtown Winnipeg in 2 months.
Yeah, jackets get put away for the playoffs. Hand out the puck. Who's going to pick it up? And is Kyle Connor for Game 2, back-to-back games with game-winning goals for him. And the Winnipeg Jets players have been their best players. I do see Kevin Kowalik in chat wanting to give a shout-out to Dylan Sandberg as well. I mean, played a team-high time on ice, was denying zone entry after zone entry. It was an incredible game from many players, Hustler.
Yeah, listen, I mean, we talk a lot about Stan because obviously he had the huge hit. But, I mean, you go up and down the roster. I mean, everybody stepped up and did their job, and that's why we're having the conversations that we are today. Let's hear what the coach had to say. This is Arnie on the Jets game and their attention to detail, which was a huge part of getting one over on St. Louis last night at home.
Well, I think that there's been a lot of those moments over the course of the season where it's we've had great first periods and blew a team out, or we've had to wait. It's taken us with our 6-on-5 at the end, or it's had to go to overtime, whatever it might be, that we just keep stressing about that plays that happen over a course of a game. It might happen in the first, might happen in the third. It's exactly what Cole said, is that every play does matter. I was a little upset there at the end of the first period because I thought that was a kill. I thought we had done it perfect. I thought that we had the puck in the corner with 15 seconds left, and to me it was just every play matters, and you don't know how big it's going to be at the end of the game. And so the other night we scored late to win it. Tonight obviously our third period again was really solid, and that's what playoff hockey is. One team's going to make a mistake. You want to put as much pressure and do the things that you do well and force those teams to make that mistake.
Yeah, the margin between winning and losing in a series like this is very close, and that attention to detail and doing all those little things right is often the foundation for teams that win and the minute difference between teams that fall on the other side. We're going to be talking to Kev about the entire game, but we'll certainly get to Logan Stanley's game last night. Here's Arnie on the Stan-Shen pairing last night for Winnipeg.
Yeah, I mean, those are two intimidating guys out there, and when we got Luke there, and it's the same with Stan. We want people to go the long way around to get to our net front, and if they're going in the corners to get pucks, we want to make sure that they know that it's not going to be an easy ride. But that's everybody. I don't, those two that obviously jump out at you, especially with a couple of big hits. But that's everybody. I think our group our compete level is where it needs to be for playoff hockey. It's something we talked about from the very beginning, that it isn't just our big guys, our big heavy guys. It has to be everybody. And I thought our puck battles were real strong tonight. It started in the first period, on the walls, net fronts, off face-offs. Those areas, there was a lot of areas that we were certainly a lot stronger.
It's head coach Scott Arniel. We've got lots from Arnie, and we'll have some more later on with Gabriel Velarde update too. But just before we bring in Kev, it was funny seeing Mark Scheifele give the puck to Kyle Connor. If he really wanted to, he could have just kept it himself, because he was that good last night, and he was the catalyst for Kyle Connor's winning goal with a beautiful play behind the net to get the puck to Connor. Here's what Arnie had to say about the play that led to the winner for the Jets.
That's your best players, playing at the top of their game, and that's what Scheif has done. You can see that he's taken on that challenge. He's going head-to-head against their best player, and whether it's defending or whether he's offense with the puck, he has a strong skill set that we have seen all 82 games, and now he's taken it into this playoff series. And when your best players are your best players, that certainly goes a long way towards you helping win hockey games.
Well, just as we bring in Kyle Connor, what a night last night for KFC, the player for the Jets, and last night's game sponsor. We're really excited to have KFC, a Winnipeg fan favorite, as a playoff partner on Winnipeg Sports Talk. KFC Canada is also an official partner of the Winnipeg Jets and is committed to providing Jet fans a delicious game day experience with exclusive finger-licking good promotions. They're proud to bring to Canada Life Centre. On Jets game days, KFC Canada is giving away their Big Crunch chicken sandwich for just $4.95 at participating KFC locations to help Jet fans enjoy the game with the big hit. And the word on the street was right. The Colonel was in the house last night. And then there was also another young fan dressed as the Colonel. I guess we've just been calling Kyle Connor KFC for long enough that now Colonels are popping up in the building. And we did see some of those delicious chicken fingers and fries being scarfed down at the building as well. I will say this, when it comes to activation and a perfect partnership, KFC, the Jets, and one Kyle Connor, I think the F stands for finger licking, in fact. It was everything coming up KFC last night and Winnipeg Jets. Let's get to it and welcome in Kevin Sawyer, who we're missing on the broadcast these days. Kev, what's going on? It's great to have you back on WST. How are you? Hold on a sec. We just got to get your get your audio up here.
One sec. Should be good now.
There we go now. You like that finger licking, Connor?
I think let's just go with that, Hustler. Let's just go with finger licking. I love it. Whatever works. He's working, they're working, so that works for me.
Man, there's so many ways to get to last night's game and the start, but 2 down, 2 to go in the first round, taking care of business at home in 2. I mean, really just incredible playoff games, Kevin. I mean, what have you thought about the games overall before we dive into the players that have been making a difference? I mean, this has been some great playoff hockey.
You know, I'm going to compare it to broadcasting. You know, I've been talking about hockey, for my whole life, and it's easy, it's second nature. And then when you get in front of a camera, the lights turn on, and all of a sudden there's pressure, people are watching, and all of a sudden it becomes very difficult to articulate yourself like you used to do for years prior. It's the same for the playoffs and same for the team, win the President's Trophy. Not to say that there isn't pressure, expectation, and a spotlight during the regular season, but that light doesn't burn anywhere near as hot as it does in the playoffs. And I would say out of all the 16 teams in the playoffs, that light was brighter and hotter on the Winnipeg Jets more than any other team. The first round, pressure, Hellebuck, the way things went last year, there was pressure. So they won a game where they played well for 20 minutes. We all know that. And what we saw last night was the Winnipeg Jets settling into what's normal for them, right? That 82-game dress rehearsal. I see them only getting better from here as they settle down and start to get a little bit more comfortable with that burning light that's on them. They're the best team. With that comes expectation, and for me, they're dealing with it better and better with every day that goes by.
You know, I'm really with you on that, and I have to admit, I mean, someone was asking me on a show I was going on, I mean, who's got the most pressure to win the cup? And I mean, winning the cup is a 2-month journey. There's a lot of great teams. Only one team is going to be the last one standing. And listen, the odds were so even. You had 10 teams basically in between 7 and 10 to 1. So pick a team. You could make an argument that they're the favorite. But I certainly believe that the pressure to come out with a strong start to win the first round of the playoffs was as great as it was here in Winnipeg that it was anywhere in the league because of what's happened the last couple years, the scar tissue that the players know. And I would argue that Connor Hellebuck, of all the players, to be honest, somewhat unfairly, in my opinion, but still, that was all the narrative. Can he get it done in the playoffs as well? And Kev, to win the first game in a game that 3 of the first 10 shots went in, and then to have them completely dominate the third period the way they did was, in some ways, maybe the best case scenario for this team.
I totally agree. I mean, they could have folded, right? The way that started with Connor Hellebuck, and did they feel the pressure? You bet they did. Of course they did. but the ability to rebound when things don't go well. And you're right. I would say no team has more pressure. And think of it this way, where, okay, spotlight's on the Winnipeg Jets, the heat is on. Oh boy, are they going to lose game 1 to St. Louis? Here we go again. They don't lose. They win it. They didn't do it in pretty or in high fashion. But if they get through this first round, which, anything's possible, but they're going to, it sure looks that way, their biggest pressure moment could be behind them as far as expectation. Is everybody expecting them to win a Stanley Cup? I don't think that's fair. I think they're hoping. I think some people are expecting. But, man, when you get a team that has to push through that kind of pressure early, now you catch your flow and you get some momentum and some real confidence as you go. This team is going to be dangerous. They pass these mental tests, and that's what winning a Stanley Cup is. It's physical, but it's more mental than anything else. Ask anybody that's won a cup, and they'll tell you the same thing. So the mental tests have been checked so far.
Kev, I have to say, I've been really impressed with the St. Louis Blues in this series. I mean, nothing's coming easy for Winnipeg. Both teams are playing an incredibly physical brand of hockey. The Blues have played really well. They've been in both of these games, and they're going back home down 0-2. How do you think the Blues are feeling right now?
Well, for sure down. I think that they would say that, man, we played good enough to split on the road. And that first game would have hurt for sure. But at the same time, Jim Montgomery knows that, man, that we're not far off. I mean, we're playing the President's Trophy winning team, and we have to be near perfect to beat them. Listen, their game plan is a good one where, the forechecking and getting speed through the neutral zone. I don't see a team that's trying to be overly fancy, and they're forcing Winnipeg to be their very best, and their Jets are being pushed to stay tight into their structure, and that's a good thing. If they can get out of this round, when they get out of this round, they're going to be battle tested. It's certainly not going to be an easy one. I was asked, what's going to be the hardest matchup between Minnesota, Calgary, and St. Louis Blues? Potentially a lot. And a lot of people thought, if Calgary gets in, that's going to be a nightmare. This is the most difficult of those three teams because St. Louis has a ton of structure. They play hard. They come hard. And that forces Winnipeg to stay tight. When they're not, game 1, just those first 40 minutes, the reason that the St. Louis Blues was able to have more than 50 finished checks, and a lot of them were hard, because the Jets weren't tight in the neutral zone. They didn't have a good gap and hold that rush from St. Louis. They were able to get through the neutral zone, and they were able to pound them. And so that forced Winnipeg to go back and say, hey, we can't take shortcuts here. We got to be tight. They tightened up, and now they out-hit St. Louis last game. So it's a tough matchup, but I think that St. Louis, a long way to get to your question, is they've got to be down but ultra motivated going home, saying we're 1 goal away from getting a win in this series.
There's so many different players to kind of bring up, but I want to start with Mark Scheifele. He all season long, he has been, listen, he's had a career year. He's sort of played like, in a lot of ways a different player. A player that is just matured, graduated, and is absolutely solely focused on doing what he can do to put his team in the best position to win. Thoughts on Scheifele's first 2 games, the way he's handled the very physical nature of this, and be able to create, make plays, score goals, and of course that being the catalyst on that winning goal in a series where offense is very tough to come by. I
am of the opinion that the most important player for the Winnipeg Jets to win a Stanley Cup is Mark Scheifele. A lot of people say it's got to be Connor Hellebuyck. Of course he's going to be important. But if your top line center isn't one of the best players, if not your driver, not very many teams are going very far, particularly Winnipeg. They need that line to score, and the way to score in the playoffs is exactly what Mark is doing right now. Now, I'm not going to suggest that Scheif has flipped the switch, turned it on, turned it off through the regular season, but I can tell you, it is impossible to play 82 games at a playoff level. Just no man can endure that. It's impossible. So But when you look back, and we've talked about this on the show, where, you know, those 10, 12 games this year that were those big moment games against Florida in the back-to-back, you know, the first game against Colorado, Scheif was the driver. He was the alpha in all of those games, and they won them all. And so he's flipped the switch here, or he's found another level, and it's going to require that, you know, 16 times, 24 times, however many games it takes for this team to win. He knows what it takes to score and to lead a team in the playoffs, and being courageous and fearless and going to the net with his skill, man, that pulls everybody into the fight. I've been so impressed with just the way he's been able to win pucks on the wall, be willing to take his toes to the blue paint. Every shift, he's driving, and that is exactly what this team needs if they want to win.
Well, and you know, when we look at the winning goal, you know, Scheifele's the one that sort of starts it, draws the attention, gets it to Cole Perfetti, who then puts it on Kyle Connor's stick. And, you know, you think about just how rough this series has been and the physical toll that it's taking. I got to say, some of the guys that aren't the most physical players, if you will, Kyle and Cole, they are not backing down from anything and are still being as effective as they would be in no-hitters in the regular season. I mean, I've really been impressed at the way they've handled it, moved out of the way of big hits, taken one when they needed to. Basically, it all comes down to paying the price, and it seems like everyone's doing it, led by the top offensive players.
Remember the game earlier in March, whatever the date was, when the Capitals were in town with Winnipeg?
Oh, of course. 26th,
it was
25th.
Yeah, there you go. So it was a 1-goal lead going into the third period. And we talked about this as well, where Tom Wilson, Pierre-Luc Dubois, everybody for the Washington Capitals was ramming the Jets through the end boards, a lot like St. Louis is trying to do in this game. And they passed that test by sticking it back to them at the right times, not taking bad penalties, but most importantly, not going away, not fading away. As a matter of fact, the physicality in that game made Cole Perfetti, it made Vlad Nemesnikov, it made Mark Scheifele better. And that is when I thought to myself, okay, this is probably the final kind of convincing test that I needed personally as an analyst to say, team's ready to win. They're ready to win because they can handle that kind of ferociousness. It's not the first time, so I'm not surprised to see it. We've seen it, you know, against the LA Kings. We've seen it against Dallas. That Capitals game was the one where I'm like, no team's coming harder than that. That was a big boy game. St. Louis is bringing big boy hockey as well and making those guys better. They're not big. They're not meant to be physical, but they can play in big physical games in their own way. It's been more of the same for me.
You mentioned big boy hockey. The biggest boy on the Winnipeg Jets had a big game last night. Thoughts on the impact that Logan Stanley was able to make when he was out there last night? And I mean, they hit on Carey that I think, you know, could be a moment in this series that we look back at as being a pretty pivotal turning point.
I'm going to back up, and I know how much heat that Stan has taken over the years.
For sure.
And this year, a ton of it. And listen, I'm not going to say that I stand corrected because, you know, I hope and I'd like to think that you call what you see and you try to be fair. And when you're critical, you better be damn sure you're right. Stan has had some good games throughout the course of the year, and he's had some poor games throughout the course of the year. I give so much credit to Scott Arniel and his coaching staff, Kevin Cheveldayoff, for sticking with this man for as long as they did. I don't think many coaches would have. If I'm in the situation as the coach saying, this, our window is open now, would I have been that patient with him? I doubt it. I've always talked about how popular he is, how hard he works. I think how badly he wants to be good. And they are now getting dividends from the big man. That is exactly what he needs to look like if he wants to take those minutes from somebody else. And that is exactly what the Winnipeg Jets, I think, were holding out for. Make the right play, nothing fancy. In the offensive zone, shoot the puck, find a way to get it to the net, put it somewhere safe. And when you have a chance to be impactful and mean, make sure you never let that opportunity go by. He isn't letting those go by now, and that changes. I'm telling you, man, when I used to play and there was a 6'7" guy on the other side of the ice that's 230, 40, 50 pounds and they're playing angry, I'm like, God, this is going to be the longest night of my year. And nobody wants that. The St. Louis Blues don't want that, but they're getting it and they're going to keep getting it. I think Logan Stanley is playing with more confidence now, but it's a quiet confidence. He's not running around chasing the game. Man, what an impact. And good for Winnipeg. Good for them for sticking around and being patient with him. They're getting paid.
I'm with you. I mean, listen, Stanley has been a frustrating player at times because you know that it's there, and just sometimes that physicality wasn't on display and wasn't used enough. And I mean, it's great to be 6'7", but if you're not using it, how are you helping the team win? He did it last night, but I do think, I don't know, maybe I'll just ask you, how much has he benefited from having Luke Schenn around? Because Schenn hits everything. He never lets up on any opportunity to hit someone. And I mean, I don't know, maybe this is a little simplistic, but it seems like the exposure to a guy like that uses the most of his size on every single shift is rubbing off a little bit. Something's working, because what he did to Carey last night was Buff-esque. And I got to think, Kevin, that Luke Schenn has had a very, very good effect on Logan Stanley.
There is no doubt. So I'll tell you a story. When I was 20 years old, just up the road from where I'm sitting right now, Ray Ferraro moved into town, and he was in the prime of his career. He knocked on my door and said, "You want to work out with me? I got a gym on my property." At that time, I was one of the hardest working guys on my team in junior. I just turned pro. I'm like, yeah, I'd love to. Hustler, I learned so much just from being around Ray and how hard he worked, the expectation he had on himself, and watching him sell out in the gym every single day. I had no choice but to find another level for myself. It's impossible for anybody to have any kind of pride to look right beside you and see, like, this guy or gal or whatever your situation you're in is selling out and then some. It automatically makes you better just by osmosis, just by being there. And so that's happening with Logan Stanley, in my opinion, with Luke Schenn. Luke blocks shots, hits, and he never chases the game, but he is out there doing heavy lifting. And I think automatically Stan looks over and says, if he can push himself that hard and he can play that brave, so can I. I can find another way to find another level. And that's what Ray did for me. I think without Ray Ferraro, I would have never made it to the NHL, just on work ethic alone, being able to be a witness to that. I think maybe not to that level for Stanley, but I think that elevates his game. I also think that for Stan to be as good as he's been lately, he has to learn to trust himself, but also you have to be able to trust the people you're playing with. I think he automatically trusts Luke. He knows exactly who he's playing with. He knows exactly that he's going to be covering for me when I step up on a big hit in the neutral zone. This is a big brother syndrome happening right now, and it is perfect for Logan Stanley. Luke has a lot. I think he has a lot to do with what we're seeing in that pairing for sure.
Yeah, I mean, listen, positive. I mean, we are talking about the third pairing, and Logan Stanley is the sixth defenseman, but you want to be a championship team, you need contributions, positive contributions from every guy in the lineup. And I mean, I think you could go top to bottom for the Winnipeg Jets, and they did exactly that. Now, with the lead, Stan only played a couple minutes in the third period, and that's fine. And that will be the case moving forward. But when you've got that from your third pairing, that puts you in a chance to, listen, they really did do the better job of owning the blue ice. And those guys, when they were out there, were clearing it out in front and getting it out of their zone. But thoughts on the top four, because I know there's a lot of love for what Sandberg has done. And, he did get burned in game number one by Carey. Maybe the most important moment in the series so far, the save that Hellebuck made on Carey. I'm not sure we're having the same conversation yesterday if it's 4-2 at that point and what goes on. But, I thought Neil Pionk has had a great amount of fight in his game. And you know what you're getting from Josh Morrissey every night, along with Dylan DeMello. How have you, in your thought, the top four who were playing so many minutes, handled the physicality of what St. Louis is bringing and help get the puck out of their zone and into the hands of the Connors and Scheifele's that have made the difference?
First, let's start with Neil. I thought that he was maybe the best defenseman for Winnipeg last night. All in all, 200 feet, man. His reads, his gap, his stick, the way he was able to end plays, break plays up, transition the puck. And he's only going to get better as well, where he gets more reps, right? Like, that was a long time that he was out of the lineup. So he was great. But you look at the top four, it's not a big group aside from Dylan Samberg. How they handle the physicality, they've handled it by committee where they know, and I'm sure they talk about this, where the forwards have to carry a ton of load to make sure that those guys are not getting rammed through the end wall. Game one, they did for 40 minutes. That's not sustainable. But when they can get back to pucks as quickly as they can, when the forwards can run interference and smother and suffocate through the neutral zone, it's the same as we've seen all year, where that's that relationship from forward to D. But the top four, who cares if Logan Stanley plays 10 minutes in the game and 2 minutes in the third period? That's all that's what you need him for. That's what you're getting. That's all right, because Josh Morrissey, Dylan DeMello, those top four are used to playing 20, 22, 24 minutes. In Josh's case, 28 or 30 if needed. With the style that they played in game number 2, that's a team, that's a core that to me can go deep and could avoid injury and can play heavy minutes because of the relationship they have with, the forwards and the D, like I just said.
I don't think Connor Hellebuyck needed to bounce back, if you will, but certainly from the early point of game one, that big save, and then the team took care of the rest in the third period. I thought that he was real good last night. And listen, it is funny, Kevin, and this kind of goes into some of the MVP conversation. You could make an argument that Hellebuck's importance to the team in some other years was greater because of what was happening in front of him. But when things are going well, they make it easier for Hellebuyck to put up Hellebuck numbers. And then he returns the favor by being steady as he always is last night. Trending in the right direction for playoff Helly.
Totally. I would actually say, he needed a bounce back, and he got a nice little taste in the third period in game one, but let's be honest, they didn't really need him. They controlled play. So, I'll say it. I think he needed to bounce back from game one and, shed doubt for himself about, hey, man, last year didn't go the way we wanted it to. That wasn't anything close to what I need to be like. But that's the problem, and that's why I don't beat the MVP drum too heavy. Hustler is, do I think that he's MVP worthy? I do. But is he a slam dunk? He's not for me, and it's only because of the moving parts in front of him, like you just said. I mean, this team gives him predictability. He has a great sense of anticipation where he fronts shots and he has a chance he peeks into the future and he makes what other goaltenders might have a difficult time getting in front of. He's there ahead of the play a lot of the times, but he's MVP caliber. There's no doubt he deserves it. He's worthy. But if he doesn't get it, we'll, in my opinion, all know why. And it would be because his damn team in front of him was too good. Made it too easy on him too often.
Hey, there was some good news, and we'll play this later on coming out of the practice today. But Arniel was asked if Gabriel Velarde could be a possibility for game 3, and he sort of smirked and said something along the lines of maybe. So, I mean, not a yes, but certainly not a no. If Velarde comes back after this break, where do you think he slots into the lineup? Like, does he go right back to the top line, or do they kind of ease him in somewhere else and let AI continue doing what he's doing with Scheifele and Connor?
Did you have to ask me this question? I've been wondering about this and thinking about this a lot. First of all, I'm going to say this. Up 2-0 in the series. They'll take nothing for granted, like they've taken nothing for granted all year.
For sure.
I'll be surprised. If they play him in game 3, I'll be surprised. I think that whatever his injury is and was and whatever stage he's at, let's just assume that when he comes back, he won't be at 100%. I don't put him in until, you know what I mean? Like, if the series continues to go the way it does, maybe they give him another week's rest. Where they slot him in, I can tell you, I don't know, but one thing I do know is there's no chance they're putting him on the top line to start. There's no way. I mean, watch them do that right off the bat and make me look like an idiot. You know what? probably fourth line. I could see him getting some fourth line minutes, and I'll tell you why. Because that fourth line isn't playing like a prototypical fourth line. They play with speed. They play with pace. They get the puck to the net. Anderson Dolan, man, is he taking advantage of this opportunity? Morgan Barron with speed. He's starting to show more skill. And if you're going to give Vilardi some reps, you know what? That puck ends up at the net often, and we all know where Vilardi's best. It is around the net, on the wall. So, you know what? Bring a little bit of fourth line out in Vilardi, give him a chance with less minutes, and then see where it goes from there. See how he feels. Eventually, he's going to get back to that top line. As good as Iafallo has been, and the way that Al changes the look of that line a little bit, Gabe Vilardi, I mean, that trio, when they're together, let's not forget how good they were. They cooled before Vilardi got hurt, but to me, that's where if he can get back to health and get back to his game, that's where he'll be.
You know, as long as Ehlers is out, which I think we assume will at least be for the first round, I've got some time for potentially putting him with Vlad and Perfetti and having Nino move back down for the Lowry line, and then presumably the drop-off would be Brandon Tanev going back down to the fourth line. I mean, there are some different areas that he could pop in and not touch that top line because, as you've mentioned before, and I think everyone's noticed, I mean, Alex Iafallo brings a 200-foot game. He's doing what he needs to do in the offensive zone to not take the pop out of that line. But, man, when it comes to forechecking the neutral zone, he's been a huge plus for that group.
You know what? You're not wrong. I mean, that's a great point, where it's tough to break up a line that's been so effective. Vilardi would fit because he's got the same thing kind of Niederreiter's got going on with that net front presence. So you know what, honestly, that probably is where he makes more sense. Now that you say that, Niederreiter goes back with Lowry. Listen, isn't this part of the picture that we've seen all year, where you can debate all these different things and they all seem to make sense? And that's the mark of a good team as well, where it wasn't very long ago where the thought of breaking up the Lowry line was like, we break that line up, we have no identity. We have no identity on this team anymore, that identity line. And now, man, they can plug and play on all four lines, quite literally, and they just seem to, stay the same or get better. So, yeah, I like that idea with Vilardi on that second line as well. Who knows?
Kevin Sawyer with us on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Kev, before we go, I've got to ask you two questions of a personal nature. How is prep, and when are you heading out to the Worlds? And part B is, how difficult was it for you after all of these games this year to not be in that atmosphere in Winnipeg last night and see it on TV? Because I'm sure you felt it more than anyone, knowing what that building can be like and has been like all year, and now at another level in the whiteout.
Yeah, well, first I'll start with the prep. Almost non-existent, man. Trying to get information on Hungary or on these teams, Kazakhstan. I mean, oh man, it'll be a challenge to pronounce those names, but that's in due time. That's going to start quick. We leave. Dan Robertson and I are heading over there first week of May to call the Men's World Championship. So that's exciting. But I can tell you, the first couple of years working for the Winnipeg Jets, I'd stuck around for a week or so to watch playoff games when they had home ice advantage, experience the whiteout, and there's a little piece of me that just dies when I get in my car and I look in the rear view and I see the city of Winnipeg as I head down west on Portage back to British Columbia. It's the most exciting time of the year. You work all year, and although we're not a part of this team, but when you're on the plane and you're at all the, you're in the room, you get to know these guys, you feel like you're a little tiny piece of it, and it's hard to walk away. But you know what? I'm at home with my family, watching games, doing Sports Center hits after, and maybe a cold beer or two while I get to watch. I don't get to do that in Winnipeg.
Well, hey, you know what? If you can maybe on your way to the Worlds, pop in quickly for a game. Well, you know what? You want the real experience? We'll get you a seat up in the 300s to where really you can have that cold beer and really experience what the whiteout's all about.
I'll tell you, when we get back from the World Championships and when the Winnipeg Jets are still playing.
Yes.
My son, Jack, who's 22, a massive Jets fan, and I are flying back to town, and we will be there. I'm going to take you up on that. We'll spill beer on fans in front of us together.
Love it, Kev. Well, hey, listen, it is just an absolute pleasure to have you. Thanks so much for jumping on. I know you're locked in as much as any of the Winnipeg Jet fans on what's happening right now with this hockey club. And heck of a great start. 2 down, 2 more to go in this series, and we'll see what happens on Thursday night. Look forward to catching up, hopefully, before you head out. Thanks so much again, as always, Kev.
Call anytime. Go Jets, go. Thanks, buddy.
Right on. There's Kevin Sawyer. It's great. Listen, I love the Worlds. I'm going to love it even more with Dan and Kev doing the games this year for TSN. I've always wanted to get to a World Championships overseas. I mean, it looks like just such an incredible event and atmosphere. But I'd certainly rather have my hometown team playing in the Stanley Cup playoffs, that's for sure. Hey, speaking of incredible trips, sports trips and whatnot, got to shout out our pal Sean and Let's Do It Travel. When you think about trips like that, you have a finite amount of holiday time. You've got a finite amount of money. And you want to make sure that you are making the best decisions when it comes to flights and hotels and stretching your dollar further. And that is where Sean and Let's Do It Travel come in to get that bang for your buck and make sure you're getting that most out of your vacation time. So if you're planning an all-inclusive or considering one for next winter and want to get on the best deals and the best locations, let the experts help you. And guys, there is nothing more important than making that right decision if you're planning a destination wedding. So head on over to Let's Do It Travel on Instagram and give Sean a follow at Let's Do It Travel WPG, and check out his site online at letsdoittravel.com. And here's the kicker: as a longtime WSTer, Sean and Let's Do It Travel waiving their booking fees for WST listeners. So just let Sean know that we sent you. So for that all-inclusive, for that destination wedding, or maybe an epic sports trip with your fellas, you got a buddy in the travel business with Let's Do It Travel. Get in touch today, letsdoittravel.com, and Instagram at Let's Do It Travel WPG. Whiteout Mania continues to grow around the city and province. And, of course, Princess Auto is behind the Whiteout Mania promotion right now for the Winnipeg Jets. Pop by Princess Auto, Panet Road, Portage Avenue West, Brandon as well. They've still got stock in of the Whiteout Mania signs that you're seeing all over the city. Those are absolutely free. Just pop into Princess Auto and get them. And if you go to winnipegjets.com/whiteoutmania, you can upload your crazy costumes, the way that you've done up your home, like the White House, if you will. Other great fan hype songs, videos. Send them in, and you can win playoff tickets from Princess Auto and the Winnipeg Jets. Pick up those signs today. Get your submissions in for Whiteout Mania online. And again, huge thanks to Princess Auto for all they do for our local sports community. And, of course, Winnipeg Sports Talk. I know the Aikens Lake crew is ready. It's going to be tough for them to get on that plane with the Jets still in the playoffs at some point, but they'll be watching the games from out there. And eventually, we'll be getting on the water at Aikens Lake as well this year. If you're thinking about a unique, incredible fly-in fishing opportunity where you can be on the water in less than 2 hours from the city of Winnipeg, Aikens Lake is the spot. And as incredible as the world-class fishing is, the world-class hospitality of our friends, the Terren family, and the Aikens team is even better. Find out more on availability and features of the 2025 fishing season today at aikenslake.com, and make sure to check them out at Aikens Lake, where on all of your social channels. And hey, there were some pretty snazzy suits at the game last night. A lot of white ones. Whether you're looking for a white suit or just need to up your menswear game heading into spring and summer for wedding and grad season, get on down to F Apparel, the #1 spot for custom men's suits and clothing here in Winnipeg, with suits starting at just $400. Chinos, golf pants, custom shirts, both tucked and untucked styles, the best selection of menswear accessories, and of course, 2 great promos right now. If you've got a grad in the family, free shirt and tie with the purchase of any suit, and a great discount for wedding parties when the fellas get their suits for the big day at F Apparel. Pop by and see them in store, 190 Smith Street downtown, or check them out online, that's EPH Apparel.com. TSN.com. All right, let's hear a little bit more from Scotty Arniel. Now, I guess I sort of did tease this. Reem, if you can just get that clip on Velarde's status, we'll get to some of more of the feedback, but this is obviously very important information from today. I alluded to it when we spoke with Kevin Sawyer. This was a bit of an injury update from Scott Arniel today, and specifically asked about where's Gabriel Vilardi at.
Any chances, are you hopeful Gabe could play game 3?
Maybe.
Maybe. Okay.
We'll see what that color of the jersey is tomorrow.
Better than no
Full
color.
practice tomorrow. See what the color. You coming?
Okay, yeah, sure.
Are you coming?
I'll send Gord.
All right, so Reem, there's you got to take that pretty positively. I mean, there's certainly not pouring cold water on the potential of Gabe coming back, and I guess if we see Gabe in the regular colored practice jersey, he could very well be good to go. Although I kind of side with Kev on this one. I wouldn't be surprised if they gave it at least one more game with the extra 2 days in between each game to be as close to 100% as possible, especially considering what the team's done with the current lineup.
Yeah, they're up 2-0. I don't know if you're not feeling the pressure to rush it. Would you love to have Gabriel Vilardi back in the lineup? Yeah, but you also want to make sure that he's going to be 100%. And I agreed with him. Start him off on, not the top line and see how it goes. Shafley and Connor have been pretty good there with Iafallo. I do think he would give a boost to the power play. They didn't score on either of their opportunities yesterday, but well tuned in. I got the alert. I think practice tomorrow at 11 a.m. at Canada Life Center, and we'll all be watching to see on whoever's tweeting, Ken, Murat, Mitch Clinton, whoever it is, that what color jersey he's wearing. We're all watching, and maybe you do have a couple days. I mean, Sundays, it's Tuesday. Sunday's like almost a week away. That would be a lot of extra recovery. I was thinking, if there's a game 5, that's in over a week. This is next Wednesday. I think game 5 for sure, but would he be back Sunday? Could they push it to Sunday? We will see.
And knowing that the team has the 2-0 lead, I think that this time in between games is great for the Jets. I mean, particularly for Vilardi's status. I mean, hopefully, with these extra days, we might start talking about Nikolai Ehlers, although that seems to be much further away than any Vilardi talk right now. So, we'll go from there. Listen, let's get back to a little more from last night's game. Lots of talk about the Stan hit, but also the play of Dylan Samberg. This is 5, Remo. Samberg played big minutes last night, was a workhorse on the Jet blue line, along with Neil Pionk, who had a really strong game. Here's what Arniel had to say about Samberg's play and then the hit by Stan on Jordan Kyrou.
They got a real good quick transition game in the first period. We got caught a couple times with their D jumping in the rush. But when our D can be gapped and we can hold that, when we sort of defend from the blue line out there, when we don't allow teams to get like this, like St. Louis with their skill set to allow them to get inside, to cut and go east-west. And that's where Sammy's really good. He's got great feet. But I thought our D did a really good job early on in the game. Even when they did have the odd man rushes, that we did a good job of playing above the blue line and trying to slow it up so that our trackers could get themselves back. And, Sammy, we know he's got a real good pair of feet that helps him do that.
And I'd imagine there's no better way to shut down a neutral zone play than Logan Stanley's hit on Jordan Kyrou. What kind of boost was that for your group?
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly not like the period wasn't already up and running with a lot of physical hits both sides. I think that the crowd certainly came out of their shoes on that one, as everybody did. That was a big hit, but you got to give Kyrou an awful lot of credit. Man, he bounced right back, and it went both ways. We got hit a few times, and guys got back up, and that's what playoff hockey's all about. And these guys, they know it, and I love the way we kept sticking with it, and just hopefully that's part of what happens in series. You try to wear the opposition down. You just who's going to give up first, and we just got to keep doing what we're doing.
Speaking of that, Remo, let's just hit 6 before we get to Kyle Connor. Keep doing what they're doing. The message to the team, obviously, the job isn't done, but a great start to the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Again, this is all game 3 now, all right? We'll do our post-game work and tomorrow or the next couple of days here, and the guys know how hard it is now. And then we like I mentioned after game 82, we learned some lessons about how to play in different buildings against different teams, different styles. You can never equal what happens in these playoffs, as you guys can probably tell, just how physical it is and how fast it is. It just, now the guys, they recognize this is how we have to play every game, and it's going to be a grind. They're going to be tight games. This is exactly, going into St. Louis is going to be tight like this again, and that's what we have to just stay in the moment, play each shift out, and hopefully we come out the right side of it.
All right, so there's the coach, both from last night and just the quick update on Gabriel Vilardi, and a sly grin to look for the color of the jersey tomorrow in the 11 a.m. practice. Kyle Connor got to put the puck on the board for the Jets' second win. Here's what he had to say after the 2-1 victory last night in front of the white-clad fans.
Yeah, it's good. Obviously we talked about our mentality going in tonight, and you saw it was tight checking game, running around, not a ton of space, and not a ton of odd man rushes. They weren't going to be beat that way. We weren't going to be beat that way. Just came down to who wanted it more, and I thought once we did get that go-ahead goal, we did a great job of just kind of clogging up the middle. Not allowing their D's to beat us up the ice, and just playing good D there.
How do you think your tight checking affected them, or what did you see from them?
Yeah, I mean they came out hard, just like the game one in the beginning. It's just about beating the man across from you, competing every single shift. Shift in, shift out. On to the next game, it's going to only get more intense from here on out. And I think everybody in this room and just win their battle and focus on that. I think that's where it comes down to.
There is KFC who had the winner last night. He also talked about the big saves that Connor Hellebuck made early in the game to keep the Jets on even terms.
Obviously, reaction was, great saves, and he kind of settled us into the game there, and they did get a couple looks, and he's been doing that all year. Even game one on the breakaway, he just comes up with timely saves after timely saves, and he's he's one of the best in the world for it, and just like everybody, I think he elevated his game today.
A little bit more from Kyle. Listen, the team hasn't been up 2-0 in a long time. Here's what he had to say about getting the job done at home and being up 2-0 for the first time in a while.
I mean, I don't know if it's a mental boost, but we're aware of it coming into it. I think over the past couple of years, this group is motivated. We talked about it over the offseason. We preached about it all year. It's in this room. Everybody needs to be better, bear down. It's dragging everybody into the fight. And it's a second win, but we're not resting here. We got a long ways to go, and take what we can, look at the video, make adjustments if need be, and on to the next one.
2, 1.
All right, so one more from Kyle Connor, and we'll try and get the video up for this one. This is an interesting bit. I don't know why the Jets have been better in the big moments. This has been a very, very tight, close-checking series. Why are the Jets up 2-0 right now?
Well, I think it's every single shift matters. Every time you step on the ice, you got to be aware of that, and you got to be locked into our details. You got to be connected as five and play as a team, and I think that's where it comes down to, and you can't take anything off, and it could be the difference from one night.
Your first game-winning goal was set play off the face-off. This one, would it be more instinct as you found your way into soft ice?
Yeah, you can call it that. We've been trying to get it behind their D's all series for 2 games, and you can see the results of that when we are able to get it behind them and get a good forecheck and turn it over, and the type of zone time it creates. Those guys were down there for 30, 40 seconds. They're chipping it out and they're changing, so it's a big momentum shifter, and to that goal, just trying to find a soft spot, and a lot of times right there, it's kind of in between the forwards, in between the D. They got checkoffs, and it kind of changes sides, and Cole makes a great pass in the slot there, and just trying to get it off quick and win in.
There is the man of the hour last night, KFC. 2 Colonels in the crowd, and the man that many call the Colonel getting the winning goal last night. Listen, Kyle, you got a haircut and knows how to kid, and he's turned into one of the best interviews on the Winnipeg Jets. A guy that didn't need a haircut, has a bunch of kids, is Luke Schenn, and he has been so much fun to listen to. This is from last night after the game. Luke Schenn was asked if he should get credit for Logan Stanley's big hits.
You know what? No, he's been just improving each and every day, and he's done a great job. Not chasing hits, but taking the hits when they're there and being heavy and using his size to his advantage down low and in front of the net. And then on top of that, I think he's moving the puck pretty efficiently as well. So yeah, there's definitely some growth there for sure. And yeah, I mean, I've been in similar situations earlier on in my career too, where there's adversity and you're trying to find yourself a little bit and gain a little confidence and trust. And he's doing a great job right now, and he's a huge part of things. And you can't teach obviously size like that. When you put it all together, it can be really effective.
So Luke Schenn, as we talked about with Kevin, it seems like, I mean, whatever Luke Schenn has done for Logan Stanley or playing with Logan Stanley, it's certainly looking quite good in the final finished product. Here's just Shannon playing in a tough physical game like that. There was a few acts of Shannon physicality last night. Here's what Luke had to say on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun. It's this is what you play for, and when games are this physical and this tight and the compete level so high on both teams, these are the ones you love and you want to be a part of. And after a game, you go home and you feel sore, and it's a good sore. It's and a good tired. Obviously, when you come away with a win, it doesn't obviously it hurt as much. But I mean, yeah, it's every battle means so much in the corners and the front of the net, and you got to keep your head on a swivel and not check out for any second out there, because chances are you're probably going to get hit, and you got to protect yourself too. So, yeah, you got to give a few, take a few, and yeah, it's these are the fun ones, and playoffs separates the men from the boys.
All right, there's Luke Schenn. And one more from Schenn. Had to get this one in. Of course, if you were at the game last night, you heard the Luke is better chants playing off the brother versus brother rivalry in this series. Here's what Luke Schenn had to say about the Luke is better chants last night.
I don't buy it. No, I mean, actually, I was laughing because I was trying to figure out in game one what the heck they were saying, and then as they were chanting it, puck goes off my foot and I get scored on. So it was I guess, karma. So maybe no. I mean, obviously, Braden's had a heck of a career as well too, and he's been around a long time and won himself too. And I think Jets fans would appreciate having him on this side too. So I appreciate the support from our fans for sure. And at the end of the day, I'm sure my parents are sitting in the crowd. They don't even know what to think.
All right, some good stuff from Luke Schenn. You wonder what the Schenn parents are feeling through all of this. That'd be a fun interview. Listen, we do have a practice report from today coming up a little later on with Connor Rabchak and Jacob Stoller from the rink. Hammer is next, and this segment is a presentation of your Prairie Toyota dealers, who want to remind you folks, you got 2 days left to enter this amazing contest, with a link in the description and in the chat where you can enter to win the grand prize, consisting of a signed Mark Scheifele jersey and a signed Connor Hellebuck jersey and some other great WST merch. Retail value of the grand prize, almost $1,000. This is how you do it. If you're with us on YouTube right now, click the link in the description. If you're coming afterwards, it's right there. If you're listening on the podcast, very simply, go to Prairie Toyota Dealers on Instagram, at Prairie Toyota Dealers, or Facebook at Prairie Toyota to enter. And again, the link is available in the description. The contest closes tomorrow, so make sure you get those entries in for that amazing prize. And of course, your Prairie Toyota Dealers want to remind you to get in and go with the Toyota Tundra. Backed by the peace of mind knowing it's a Toyota with the quality that means it has the strength to take on any challenge, off-road, or hauling a heavy load. From $154 weekly for 60 months at 5.19% APR with $66.99 down. Hybrid available. beautiful looking truck. Check out more and visit shoptoyota.ca. Let's bring the hammer in here and keep the show rolling. Jeff, pretty impressive start for the Winnipeg Jets through 2 games. And I got to tell you, the Blues have brought it. I mean, this has been 2 great games of playoff hockey, and obviously the team that did the most winning in the regular season is off to a great start in the postseason now.
I think if you're a Jets fan, Huss, that's the beauty of the situation, is that the Blues are bringing it. They are playing not great hockey necessarily, but they're pushing their limits, and the Jets are just putting a lid on top of it, right? Coming up in big moments at big times, and the Blues look lost for answers. I mean, it's not the first team to go up 2-0 in a series at home, but it's significant for the Winnipeg Jets, who, as we know, the last 2 playoff years ended, did not have that confidence through the first 2 games, right? Had that confidence in the first game, and then, well, we know what happened after that. To have 2 games now to put their dominance and to do it in the fashion that they're doing it, with their top line finding the back of the net, generating some supportive scoring as well, and then seeing guys, a lightning rod of criticism in a guy like Logan Stanley absolutely delivering bone-rattling hits. That's the kind of playoff hockey I imagine this front office of the Winnipeg Jets envisioned having for years, and it's finally coming to fruition so far through this playoff. So it's nothing but good news for the Winnipeg Jets so far, and ultimately, and most importantly, good results.
If you, I'm not sure, do you have your regular mic on right now?
Come on, where's what is it, Remo's day off or something
there
here?
We
like
go.
This is is it Remo's day off or something? I mean, I usually get a heads up or a producer, a behind the scenes producer thing. Pick up your mic, buddy. You know what I mean?
He's got too much going on. He's got
Did
too
you hear
much
me in the
going
back
on right now.
of back of Canada Life? It sounded like I was in the back of Canada Life Center trying to yelling my trying to yell my answer into you. Sorry about that, guys.
No, it was all good, and we could hear it. Just it's a lot better with that mic closer to your grill. I think about game 1 in the context of this entire season. Knowing that the Jets had to prove a lot of people wrong from game number 1 through game 82, and the job still wasn't done. Jeff, the way that game 1 went. With the goals that went in on Hellebuck early on. Great shots, but, 3 goals in the first 10 shots. I know there were a few eyes rolling, I imagine, and some people going, oh, man, here we go again. What do you think that game 1 victory did? The way they did it, the full domination of the third period, coming back from a 1-goal deficit. What do you think that did for the Jets just as a team between the ears going into last night's game and the rest of these playoffs?
Look, I'm not going to make a big deal out of it, Huss. I'm not going to suggest that the way in which they came back suddenly created this wave of confidence, continuing into game 2 of the series. I'm not saying that it didn't have a positive effect, that there aren't, positive things to take out of it. But the reason why I downplayed is because that's what this team has been doing all season. They've been sticking to their system, sticking to what works, playing on the defensive side of the puck, being responsible in both ends of the ice. And when you looked at them throughout this season, I'm with you. I don't think they got that credit. Now, near the end of the season, Huss, there were a few panels out there picking the Winnipeg Jets to win the Stanley Cup. So some people were buying into them. But it really has been a tale of all season long of sticking to the system, sticking to what's proven to work all season long. So I thought game 1 was a byproduct of the year. Yeah, tough one. And, I think a little bit was made, particularly through media, that like fans were all of a sudden, here we go again after that first goal. That was a nice shot. That's going to happen. It's going to happen maybe again in this series where the opponent goes up. But I don't think there was panic, in the arena. I certainly don't think there was panic on the bench. This team knows how good they are. They believe in themselves. It's got a different feel compared to other years. But on to your point, I do think maybe there are, playoffs are a different game. You've got to get over some of those mental hurdles. I think winning game 1 was a mental hurdle to get over. Winning game 2 in the fashion they wanted was another kind of hurdle. Here's the thing about the Stanley Cup playoffs. It's the hardest competition to win the world's best trophy. And the reason why is because as physically demanding it is, it's also mentally demanding. So those hurdles are going to continue to get in front of the Winnipeg Jets. I just, I see them clearing them with quite distance at this point.
Yeah, listen, I don't disagree with anything that you said. The only thing that I would say is that, you know what, I mean, you're right. They had been doing that all season long. But game 79 of the regular season, albeit what they were battling for, first place, still a little different once you get to game 1. Because as we all know, you put all that, like that builds you up as a team. But I just know, I mean, if Jordan Carey scores on that breakaway when he got past Sandberg and it's 4-2, and game 1 doesn't go the Jets' way, I can't speak for what would happening in the room. And I think we've seen a maturity and a level that I think they would have come out. They still would have been really good. But again, it would have been an extra test. And to get over a hump, to come back the way that they did, I can't think of any better way for them to get win number 1. Because as we saw last night, I think in a lot of ways it really carried over. And they were ready to take the best shot of the Blues early on. Holy smokes, was that a physical hockey game. And I mean, there's not an easy inch of ice out there right now. And I think in a lot of ways, the Jets are loving that. They're showing, all of their players are showing that they're up to the challenge. But I mean, man, the Blues have been right in these games. And, for them to go back, it's got to be a little demoralizing for them with the way that they've played, how close they've been in both of these games. They have nothing to show for it, and now being in a pretty critical situation going into game 3 on home ice.
Yeah, an 0-2 hole is not ideal for any organization. I think you can look at it a different way if you're the St. Louis Blues. I think the Winnipeg Jets are the beasts of the NHL, and you have kind of hung with them through the first 2 games. Anyone who's been to Winnipeg, particularly when the whiteout occurs, that's a tough place to be, right? You don't think St. Louis is going to be rocking for game 3? Absolutely. So I think you look at those 2 games, you look at maybe a missed opportunity in game 1, and then of course, you kind of stuck with it long enough in game 2. It just didn't work out in your favor. I think if you're the Winnipeg Jets, you need to go there with a completely blank slate as a 0-0 series and go in there and push them around in their own barn. That's what the playoffs is about. It's about, turning the tides, obviously winning those games at home, but turning the tides on the road. And the Jets have an unbelievable opportunity in game 3 here to take that momentum from the first 2 games and really put the Blues in a hole. And again, for the Blues, this is an opportunity to reset, view it the same way, 0-0, right? There's not a single team in this playoffs who's talking about being 2 games up or being 2 games down. The focus is the next game because you got to win each game. And we've seen, the statistics are weighed heavily in the Jets' favor as far as, going up 2-0 in series, but they're not 100% guaranteed. So, we've seen a lot of crazy things happen before. That's what makes the NHL playoffs such must-watch TV is when those teams come climbing back. I just think the absence of Dylan Holloway and more so to the Jets, just the credibility they have, the depth that they have. I mean, you love seeing the 4th line on, in these games. You like seeing the 3rd line get on. And then when you see the top 2 lines, it's like pure domination in a lot of aspects. So there's lots to like here. Yeah, Connor Hellebuyck maybe laid his egg for the first round in the first game, if you want to call it that, and his confidence isn't going to be shot. And then you see the emergence of guys like, Dylan Sandberg, the guy gets block shots and shots on net in the first couple minutes of the game. He's a prop dream, a prop darling, they call him, Huss. That's how versatile he's been in this playoffs through 2 games. And so I just, you take that confidence in, you take what you've built all season and now through 2 games of the postseason, and you're feeling good about yourselves. And the good thing about the Jets is there used to be a time and place in the not so distant past where feeling good about yourselves usually meant a demise. This feels different. This feels confident. This feels like a team who's prepared. And this team looks and feels like a group that has something to prove, knowing that while they've had some great success this year and they've certainly had some great efforts for the first 2 games, that means nothing. They need to continue this. They need to get through the first round, and they need to continue on this road here to prove to not only, the league and the people and the critics around them, but to themselves. And so far, Huss, so good.
Hey, you mentioned Sandberg, and he and the entire top 4 was great last night. But what about the emergence of Big Stan, who played a game last night, which I think was the dream probably of the coaching staff, the organizations, and a lot of people that had sort of wanted to give this guy the time and more time and more time, which he got. That was like the dream game for your sixth defenseman. And how about that hit on Carey? Buff-esque.
Absolutely. Like it wasn't as Buff to Stone, but it was damn close, right? Buff just probably has that impact. Like
that's
I couldn't
the
even
standard.
That's the standard. Yeah, exactly. That's the gold standard as far as plastering guys on in that kind of situation. But that play, Stanley deserves a ton of credit. I mean, like some people, the comments after the game, not everybody can hit like that. And when they say not everybody can hit like that, it's not just the fact that he's 6'7" and he's a big guy. He's got to take advantage of that situation. He sees the play develop, much like Byfuglien saw the play develop with Mark Stone, where you are going eastbound on a westbound highway and the train's coming your way. And that's what happened. You have to line that up because there's lots of times where guys line up big hits and they're out of play or it doesn't connect and it looks really dumb. That was an absolute bullet for them. And there was another one. Didn't he plaster Thomas too in that? There was a big hard heavy hit. Now it wasn't in the same kind of fashion, but that's what you're asking from. And I think that's what and I think it's pretty. I don't know. I've never really been in the Logan Stanley debate one way or the other. I kind of saw both sides, and I wasn't really one to like argue with the coaches about who they put in their lineup. But this is what you envisioned, right? You need, and I know a lot of guys make, he's 6'7", of course he should be playing, blah, 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 and all that sarcasm. But you need big bodies in the playoffs. You need guys like Carey looking over their shoulder for the rest of the series, making sure that they're not going to get plastered, knowing that he's on the ice. And while certainly Logan Stanley has been the poster child for giveaways that end up in the back of the net in some occasions, I think, seeing some efforts like that shows you why you want someone like that in your lineup, why you need someone in that lineup for your playoffs, so long as they're, doing their job and pulling their weight. And we certainly saw that from the big man.
Yeah, listen, I mean, it's one thing to be big. It's another thing to play big. And he played big last night. And I think he is getting, a crash course in what you want to do with the guy beside him right now in Luke Schenn.
Yeah, exactly.
Look, we talked a lot about him coming in and helping out the penalty kill and all that. There's, I think, an intangible here that I'm not sure I really ever thought of that we're seeing right now, that this has been a big boost to 64 with the experience and just the nonstop physicality.
And the other thing, too, about him, Huss, I don't know if you would have caught this, but when they were doing the 3 stars, guys, and I'm not saying that this should play a role in it per se, but you can tell Stanley's well-liked in the locker room. You can tell he's well-liked among the guys. And then you saw Scheifele come out, I think, for the 2nd star after Logan Stanley got the 3rd. And there's genuine excitement in Scheifele's eyes as he pats him. You know what I mean? Like, that's the encouragement. That's the camaraderie they have. But that's a level of respect. That's pretty obvious that you would do that to a player. It felt more genuine than just the obvious kind of platitudes you'd give a player in that kind of situation, right? They're encouraging him. They need everybody, right? They need all 6 defense. They need all 12 forwards, and they certainly need their goaltender if they want to go the distance in this playoffs. And so far, again, so good, man.
What you bring up Mark Scheifele. Being a guy that obviously is rooting big time and wants to see the Jets do well. My takeaways from the first 2 games that get me very excited about what this team could be capable of is how Scheifele's playing, how Kyle Connor, Cole Perfetti, and how those guys are reacting to this brand of playoff hockey that is not easy, and you're paying the price every time you're out there right now. The difference in Perfetti from 12 months ago to now is incredible. But, as Kevin Sawyer said, your number one center, your top dog has to be that driver. And these guys aren't shying away from anything and have been the difference in both of these last 2 wins, speaking specifically about 55 and 81.
Yeah, they've been both set new career highs in points this season. Both have been playing lights out. Both have been extremely consistent. No surprise here that they're getting the job done here through the first 2 games. I would say this, Huss, and this isn't to pour cold water on that because they've been playing unbelievable and they've certainly showed up in big moments, right? In these first 2 games. it's going to be a bit different in other rounds. I think with the St. Louis Blues, especially at home with last change, the Jets have the opportunity to exploit matchups, and certainly with the skill that they have on that top line. And particularly their power play, that's going to be a dangerous thing for them. But I say that because, when you end up playing a Dallas or a Colorado, that matchups are probably going to be more difficult. But you only get to play the people who are in front of you, and certainly with the skill that St. Louis has, there are some major tests there, but these guys are passing them with flying colors. You mentioned Cole Perfetti. Where he was 4 months ago to where he is now, just the calmness, kind of what you saw early on, to be honest with you, as weird as that sounds. He seemed almost like a fish out of water. So when he first kind of cracked, playing pro hockey, and it was like, it almost kind of, he wasn't expected to be there. So he took almost that as like a lack of pressure, or at least that's how it looked. Now with the pressure to deliver, with an upcoming contract, with expected to be a pivotal part here as a first round pick in this team's top 6. Now is the time. Yet, the expectations are much higher, and he's certainly living up to it. I like him on that. I like him on that power play. You can even add Alex Iafallo to that list. This is a guy who, he's showing you that you don't need your 3 best players necessarily on your top line. You need guys who can complement, and the biggest test for Alex Iafallo is to be able to play with guys like Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor. Not necessarily simply the speed, he's got that, but the hockey IQ. I mean, look at Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor and how much they're on the same page. If you add, you want to add a complementary piece to that who doesn't get in the way, for lack of a better term. Well, Alex Iafallo has done all of that and more, and I'd argue he's almost a perfect complement to those guys. And with Velarde on his way back, there's going to be some interesting decisions to be made here, but whichever way they go, the Jets are in a good spot.
Yeah, I kind of think like whether they'd start him off just for a game on the 4th line, I guess that's a possibility. I think he plays on the 2nd line before the top line. Because, if you're able to put him in that spot and move Nino back down for the regular Appleton, Niederreiter, Lowry line, which then allows Brandon Tanev to play with Morgan Barron, if that can work, I think that's a great spot. And then you've got great problems to have if eventually Nikolai Ehlers is available to go. Whether you go back to the original thing and have Iafallo playing in the bottom 6, great. His versatility, his contributions on special teams, he has been, and he does add though a 200-foot element that I think has really helped Scheifele and Connor in their own end. And frankly, about not being in their end more than sometimes they do get that popped in. So, yeah, definitely. AI, you can go down the list. Even Gus and Jad, who only played like 5 or 6 minutes last night, making the most of their opportunities. And listen, I think to beat a team like St. Louis, you are going to need to have consistent, reliable play from everybody in the lineup, because that is a team that is playing at a very high level, and they'll make you pay if you don't have the best out of everyone. But last night, or the 3rd period in particular, carrying over into last night, it's pretty hard to nitpick on anyone in this roster not pulling their fair share of the weight right now.
Yeah, certainly. And we haven't even really talked about him. He's certainly been part of the conversation, but Kyle Connor, man, he's about as automatic as it gets. He's so talented. You're seeing him, his personality flourish a little bit more here too, I've noticed, whether that just be through, scrums or one-on-one interviews. He's feeling it, and that chemistry that he has with Mark Scheifele is undeniable, and they look like they're on a mission, and they look like they want to lead the playoffs in scoring, and they want to go deep. Like this is to, as you mentioned, having a guy like Alex Iafallo on your line, I think that does help you out in the defensive zone. That's not to take away from those 2 other players, in Scheifele and Connor, both of which have worked hard on their defensive game this year. But to add someone like him, like an Iafallo, guys like a water beetle out there. He's just all over the place, right? He's breaking out pucks. He's getting possession. He's getting the puck to him, and he's not afraid to shoot. Sometimes you put a guy who's maybe not in the same class, if you will, as his line mates, and all of a sudden he's overthinking and he's not taking opportunities, he's not shooting, he's not, taking advantage of his shots and thinks he needs to get the puck to those guys. He's taking advantage of his opportunities at that time too. But to your point, Huss, I mean, that's been the beauty of the first 2 games here. It's that you can look up and down the lineup and there's no glaring issues. You could look at each guy and see how they've contributed throughout this, whether they've played 5 minutes or 25 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Iafallo, I mean, he's got such a great stick. He is a pain in the ass to play against, and he's not holding them back offensively right now. One thing I'll guarantee, that if Gabe ends up on that top line, if we see a 2-1 game like we saw last night in the last 10 minutes or 5 minutes, you're going to see 9 out there with 55 and 81 when they're doing their thing. Hey,
you should do a Huss thing where it's like whenever you do a guarantee, like the music the music starts. Never mind, maybe the smoke
scratch.
The smoke machine starts going. We got a Huss guarantee here. I was on the edge of my seat here after you said guarantee.
No, listen, I think that regardless of how that line looks, like when it is time to lock it down like they've had to do in the third period the last couple games, Iafallo is going to be that guy and I mean, we even saw, like in the final couple minutes, some interesting line combinations where Scheifele and Lowry would be out with, you want to have a couple guys for faceoffs. You want to have your best defensive players, and he certainly is that, but is adding to the offense as well. Hey, before we go, did you get a chance to check out the late games after the Jet game last night?
Yes, I woke up to the final of Edmonton and LA. So I can't comment on what I understand to be some pretty questionable officiating and game in general, but why? What's going on?
Well, I mean, just that insane comeback from 5-1, and the goal that McDavid scored to make it 5-5 was there's one person on the planet that can score that goal, and it was him. And then for them to come back all the way and then to lose, I spent a lot of time talking with Dusty about this today on the Lock Shop. And listen, we knew LA was this great home team, incredible defensive team. Even though Edmonton lost that game, and they'll be pissed off about it, I think they leave knowing that, guess what? Connor McDavid is still Connor McDavid, and so is Leon Draisaitl. And if they get their act together and not fall down 4 goals, they should have a pretty good chance of winning in LA and getting the series back at 1-1.
When I woke up and saw that the Kings had done it in overtime, I thought, what the heck? Because after the first period...
it didn't get to OT.
Oh, sorry, didn't get to OT. Sorry, not OT. That was the other game, Dallas game. 6-5 in regulation. I was just like, what's going? Was it 6-5 in regulation? I was like, what's going on here? I saw like a disgruntled almost Leon Draisaitl leave the ice after the first period, and I thought, that's it for me. I'm just going to go to bed now. And here they are. But I mean, that was speaking of your Lock Shop, that was a prop man's Christmas.
Oh, everything.
Did anyone not touch?
Over everything. Just to give people an idea, if you missed the game last night, the Kings were up 4-0. Draisaitl scores with 6 seconds left in the second period. So it's 4-1 going into the third. Janmark scores to make it 4-2, but then very quickly afterwards, Fiala scores on the power play, and it's 5-2, and it feels like it's over. And then Perry scored, but we got down to the final 2.5 minutes. It's still 5-3. Hyman scores with 2:04 left. And then, if you have not seen this already, go to Twitter or whatever. McDavid's goal to tie it up to make it 5-5 with 1.5 minutes left is just an all-world goal from a superstar that no one else can do. And then the knuckler from Philip Deneau goes past Skinner, and they lose 6-5. In a game that had a little bit of everything. But I'm sure the Kings are a little rattled at the way that third period went for a team that just simply doesn't happen to. But it's interesting to take it away. And then, of course, Dallas, I mean, they had to have that one. They tie up in the third period and get the OT win. And like from a Jets perspective, that was basically the best case scenario last night. Get to overtime, tax these teams even more, and get it evened up again for this series to go back to Denver.
Yeah, I said this before, I don't think on the show, but I was really excited about this first round, and it's living up to its hype here. I think I'm certain, it just feels like must watch TV every night. I'm looking forward to that Toronto and Ottawa game tonight. Battle of Florida, which we haven't seen yet. Yeah, it's just been wild. And those games, I mean, I guess that's just proof you can't really sleep on them because a lot can change. And when you have McDavid and Draisaitl on your lineup, it truly feels like anything's possible. It'll be interesting though. That's going to be a hard fought series. They all feel like they're going to be a hard fought series, but I wasn't predicting 11 goals in the first game between those two teams.
The only series that we haven't seen yet is Tampa, Florida. That gets going tonight. Who you got in that one? Close to a pick 'em. Florida, very slight favorite, despite Tampa has home ice.
Yeah, that's Tampa to me is a team that knows how to flip the switch, and unlucky for them, seemingly so does the Florida Panthers, obviously. So but you could see it in Tampa's play as the season wrapped up. I mean, they go through, and you can kind of see it in Florida's play as the season wrapped up. And you had Paul Maurice talk about how they didn't care where they finished. Of course, they don't care where they finish. They just had two crazy Stanley Cup playoff runs the last 2 years. They're in, getting these guys to ensure that they can go on a third long run here, right? So that was the focus there. So Florida, and that's the thing about Paul Maurice. He's always got these things in his head for rest and restoration of his players, and so that they've been doing something for months. And then as I mentioned, Tampa, like John Cooper's admit this before in the past, I shouldn't say admit this in the past before. Some colleagues of ours have talked to John Cooper about this, and we've talked about this, and he kind of has admitted privately that their team kind of takes a little bit of a break in February, right? It kind of they understand the lull of a season. They understand that going balls to the wall in February isn't going to necessarily pay off in April and May, and so you saw them kind of figure it out in the last few weeks of the season. Both got crazy weapons, both got good goaltending, both have strong defenses. This is going to be a great series, as I said, much like we've seen through the first 7 series.
Hammer, great stuff as always. There's going to be some fun conversations as long as this team keeps doing what they're doing. Cannot wait for Thursday night, and we'll look forward to having another chat next week as the series and the playoffs continue.
Always a pleasure, my friend. Let's let the good times keep rolling here. It's fun to be in this city and to feel that energy of the fans and the NHL playoffs in a hockey mad.
When are we going to have some good CFL stuff to talk about? Sort of hurry up and wait now.
Quiet right now. I mean, all we're hearing about is all the money they're making. What about the moves they're making? Hey, I mean, this is, like I said, like weeks ago, what you see is kind of what you get. It's we are pretty close here. Amps are coming up within a month. So,
hey, just, we're going to hopefully speak with Stuart Johnson, the new CFL commissioner, and he's speaking later on this week. What did you think about that? Was it interesting? I was joking to Remis, if he's coming on, I would ask him, as a former TSN employee that met an untimely demise, were you just getting out ahead of it, Stuart? Or joke, he was the president, probably calling those shots. But
funny.
Very interesting move. I mean, this wasn't a guy that had already left there. Like, he's moving TSN to take over the CFL.
Yeah, it sounds like I'm not in Stuart Johnson's head right now, obviously, and never have been, but I would argue it's probably the stressors of being a president of a massive media company is probably pretty stressful from day to day.
Yeah.
And while the commissioner is certainly has a target on his back and all over his body for that matter, when things don't go wrong, I imagine it's probably going to be less stressful than being the president of TSN. I see a couple things here. If I'm Stuart Johnson and I'm going into my pitch to the CFL, and if I'm, on the flip side, if I'm the CFL and I'm looking for the benefits of Stuart Johnson, I'm saying this guy knows. I mean, he knows all the leverage that TSN would have in a negotiation for a new TV contract. He knows what they can afford. He knows what they can't afford. He knows the inner workings. And as we've kind of been teased these past few years about the emergence of the Netflix, of Amazon, of Hulu, of all these kind of streaming services coming in and taking over, these broadcast rights, that just hasn't come to fruition. So my point here is that I think TSN needs the CFL as much as the CFL needs TSN right now, and who better to have in those negotiations than a guy who would have had firsthand look at the books and knows exactly the situation that TSN's in. Because, if roles were reversed and you didn't have this information, you got to wonder what the leverage is for the CFL in trying to negotiate a new TV contract. So I see that, and that's not even to mention the, Stewart's obviously intelligence and business savvy and all the other things that come with with that role that he was previously in, and included with other TV contracts and how you do certain things, right? I mean, if you're trying to grow TSN, that's a challenging thing. Well, here's the CFL. Maybe it's an even bigger challenge, but it's certainly for those negotiations for upcoming TV contracts and just the leverages that would have existed on both sides seems to be a little bit. Stewart seems to be a bit of an equalizer in those conversations. So I see it as obviously a big move, a good move, and certainly a guy that I don't know how many were necessarily had him on the radar, but it's not surprising to see it come from a media company, particularly TSN.
Hammer, have a great one, buddy. Thanks as always.
Always a pleasure, my friend. Talk next week.
All right, there's Jeff Hamilton of the Winnipeg Free Press. All right, we've got a poll out, and it is our Why Not question of the day for Not Autocorp over at Waverly and McGillivray. What stood out most in the Jets' Game 2 win? Was it Scheifele's domination? Was it the third period lockdown? Was it Dylan Sandberg's shutdown D? Or was it Logan Stanley's monster hit? Poll is up right now in the chat. We will get your reaction and feedback in fan feedback for fans first coming up in a couple of minutes. But let us know your thoughts in the poll and in the chat for the Why Not question of the day. And again, keep your eyes on the Not Autocorp socials for potential chances to win tickets to see the playoffs from our friends over at Not. I see Royal Sports hanging out in the chat right now. I have never received more feedback from a merch post in my life than the one that I posted after I went down to Royal to pick up the white hoodie and that sick hat that was part of that new era collab that Royal did for those white Jet hats. Most of them sold out very quickly within a couple days. I know there's 2 more versions that are coming in. This is a great time to remind yourself to follow at Royal Sports Winnipeg on Instagram, because as soon as those suckers are out, they'll be posting it. And you might not have to wait until I tell you about it on Winnipeg Sports Talk. It is the Whiteout headquarters, though. I mean, hoodies, hats, jerseys, you name it. And there are the 4 that have come in. 2 new ones coming in as well. Looks like a snapback and a more dad hat style. So those are going to be hot sellers as soon as they come in. Everything you need to get done up for the Whiteout is waiting for you at Royal Sports. And while you're there, check out the amazing new stock of bikes that are coming in by the day, and some great deals on bikes as well right now. Not to mention soccer, baseball, softball, tennis, all your spring and summer sports. Get ready to go at Royal Sports while you're getting geared up for the Whiteout. Royals at 750 Pembina Highway, and again, on Insta, Royal Sports Winnipeg. Make sure to give them a follow. It's going to be nice to not stress as much about the games tonight. I was very nervous yesterday, just getting in the Uber, going on the way to the game. But once it started, still had a real good feeling. But it's different when your team's playing than when you're just able to check out the rest of the action. Maybe have a little, we'll get to the cool bet lines. Maybe a little bet on it. I'm looking forward to heading down to Boston Pizza for a non-Jet game and dive into this playoff menu that they've got. Couple of my favorites, your favorites, are back. The pizza flights and the wing flights. They've also got the Scoville Showdown right now, where you take on 20 wings and 4 bold flavors, getting hotter after every round. I will not be trying that one, but for you people that love the hot stuff, go for it. But a couple really cool new things. The Wingman Pizza, which is the signature pizza topped with all meat bites in your choice of wing sauce, finished with a buttermilk ranch drizzle, and the one that I've got my eyes on, the new triple pep pizza with a hat trick of pepperonis, traditional dry cured, shredded, and cup and crisp. Try the new playoff menu tonight or every night throughout the playoffs down at your local Boston Pizza. And you know what goes great with Boston Pizza, especially if you're at the Polo Park location or the McPhillips location or others throughout Manitoba? Our favorite local beer, Little Brown Jug. A lot of cheers and generics and 1919s downtown after the game last night. Here's a big cheers to all of you and another Jets win from Little Brown Jug.
We're not just for the showboats or the champions. We're here for the good ones. The ones who work hard and show up for others, not to get recognized, but because it's the right thing to do. We'd like to think that our good intentions show up in our beer. We keep working to perfect it, not because we want fame or fanfare, but because you deserve it. 1919, the good you deserve.
I see you and Vivian. Connor is the WST wingman. Well, his shift is about up because he and Jacob Stoller are going to give us a practice report in just a minute. But before we do that, let's get to fan feedback brought to you by Fans First, your number one spot for buying and selling Winnipeg tickets on the resale market. Needless to say, with the playoffs, Fans First has been a very busy place as of late. Check out the site today, fansfirst.ca. No fees, folks. When you go to Fans First and you click on tickets to purchase, what you see is the exact amount that you pay. And certainly from a selling perspective, cash directly e-transferred into your account the next day after the game. You know exactly what you're going to be getting back when you post tickets on Fans First. Amazing customer service as well. So the question was, what stood out most in the Jets Game 2 win? And listen, there was so much good. It's a very, very well-distributed poll. Great work on Remis for the options. Scheifele's domination is tops at 34%. He has been so good in these two games and obviously was a big catalyst in the win last night and the winning goal. Third period lockdown was 26%, as was Logan Stanley's monster hit. And I mentioned this earlier in the program, but if you missed it, I mean, to be in the building, that hit, I mean, brought people out of their seats. But the play went on for like another 3 or 4 minutes. When they finally got to the whistle, it was a TV timeout. And Balls in the production crew obviously had all of the replays lined up. And they did 3 different views of that hit. And it was a scene inside Canada Life Center at that point. And not forgotten is Sandberg's shutdown D at 13%. Sometimes those shutdown D guys, they just don't get the love. But whether it's Scheifele, Stanley's monster hit, what the team did in the third period, or Dylan Sandberg, all big contributors to the game tonight. Give us your thoughts. Yeah, lots of love for Remis and a great poll question today for the Why Not question of the day. But fan feedback, keep it coming into the chat. Brought to you by Fans First, by fans, for fans, no fees. Check out the site today at fansfirst.ca. All right, as promised, the Jets were back on the ice today at practice, and our own Connor Rabchak and Jacob Stoller of WST Sunday Live and Sportsnet.ca were down at the building, and here is the latest WST Winnipeg Jets practice report with Connor and Jacob from the rink.
Welcome to the Winnipeg Sports Talk Practice Report. My name is Connor Rabchak. He is Jacob Stoller from Sportsnet.ca. And we just heard from Scott O'Neill for over 15 minutes here at an extended media availability. And I think the things that Jets fans are most concerned about is Gabriel Velarde's health. Jacob, what did Scott O'Neill say today about Gabriel Velarde and his potential status in this series?
A big maybe.
A big maybe.
Not a whole lot there. Obviously, one of the things that we're looking for to see what jersey he'll be in tomorrow at the full practice, whether it's a non-contact yellow one or a regular jersey. But then again, honestly, I think there's a lot of posturing being done here. Mm-hmm. It's the playoffs. There's only, so much information to be delved out. It's been about exactly a month since Velarde went out against Buffalo in that injury, and he was given a week-to-week prognosis. Mm-hmm. We're still in day-to-day, week-to-week mode. So to be honest, my takeaway from given all the evidence that we know, even if he comes out in a no-contact jersey tomorrow, I still think he's doubtful for Game 3.
And I have to agree. And one thing that Scarter Neal's mentioned a lot is the schedule and how there are 2-day breaks between Game 2 and 3. Jets don't play again until Thursday, and then another 2-day break until Sunday, and then another one until next Wednesday if we do get to a Game 5 and the Jets don't sweep this series. So that definitely helps Gabriel Velarde's status for coming back in this series. And the fact that Scarter Neal wouldn't rule him out yet for Game 3 and we'll see his practice jersey tomorrow, I think is ultimately a good sign. As for Nikolai Ehlers, Scarter Neal gave us a big fat I don't know. If we're going with the big fat maybe, he gave us a big fat I don't know on whether or not he'll travel on the trip coming up. So he's definitely a longer ways away than Gabriel Velarde, who's skating with the team, but still don't know on Nikolai Ehlers.
Yeah, I mean, the thing too is we haven't seen Ehlers skate in quite a bit of time.
Yeah.
So I think even for the whole series right now, it would seem to be doubtful. I mean,
agree.
It's a lower body injury. It's the foot or leg or something from whatever we saw. It was a re-aggravated injury. Whatever the official prognosis is, this is something that is a bit more serious. And I think that they're going to lead on and tell us, just given what we know and what we've seen here. I can't imagine a guy that isn't skating by Game 3 off skate will be into a potential Game 7, but crazier things have been done, and there are a lot of rest days in between the games.
For sure, and in the playoffs, we know players will play through anything, so can't rule him out yet, but I agree. I'd label him as doubtful for the series as well. One thing that Scarter Neal was asked about today as the series shifts back to St. Louis is the matchups. We saw Mark Scheifele matched up against Robert Thomas a lot in the first 2 games. Adam Lowry matched up a lot against Brayden Schenn. Those are the top 2 lines for St. Louis. What did Scarter Neal say about the matchup game now giving Jim Montgomery last change as it goes into St. Louis and his depth players needing to step up, Jacob?
Well, it's going to come down to just the 4 lines, as Arneal talks about, everyone being able to handle those assignments, which they have all year, to be honest. You know, if you look at any incarnation of the 4th line they've had a rotating cast of players, and at each point this year, they've been able to be pretty even, if not outchance their opponents, and they've played against tough opponents as well. So I think it's more so rely on that. Systems and whatnot will help itself out. The real thing is the matchups and last change. I wonder if they go with, if it becomes that the Scheifele line is mismatched against the Sungfish shutdown line. Like that could be something that would play against their favor, given how the Thomas line fared. But we will see, and the ball's kind of in Montgomery's court from here.
Yeah, we didn't see the St. Louis Blues today practice or have a media availability, so it'll be really interesting to see what adjustments they make as they return home. Do they make any lineup tweaks now that they have last change? That is something that we are going to keep an eye on here at Winnipeg Sports Talk.
Well, I do wonder, though, because we saw it in a couple spurts, if they put Jordan Kyrou on that top line when they like the matchup.
Yeah.
You have Robert Thomas, Pavel Buchnevich, you add the speed in Kyrou, that's a hard combination to defend.
Yeah.
And I could see that being used at certain points.
For sure. One other thing that Scarter Neal was asked about today, and I had to mention my guy, Dylan Sandberg. Mike McIntyre asked him about the amount of plays that he was shutting down in the neutral zone. I think that is a big part of this matchup that we're talking about is Josh Morrissey, he's out. When he's out there, the Jets are more than likely going to win their matchups. But the way Dylan Sandberg played in Game 2, I think gives the Jets a massive advantage. If he's out there and the 4th line is out there, even against a Robert Thomas line, he can shut them down. And Pionk, I thought, had a great Game 2 as well.
Yeah, they definitely got the nerves shook out a bit from Game 1. I think Arneal even mentioned they were one of the, Sandberg rather was more nervous after that first game, and it showed. When Dylan Sandberg's at his best, he's poised with the puck away from it as well in terms of stopping plays and killing plays and using his feet both to get to areas to close off guys and to have sound positioning down low. So we saw the real Dylan Sandberg last night, and that's going to be huge in this series where taking away time and space from those Blues players will be the key.
And one last thing that I want to mention, Jacob, is we saw before Game 2, Joel Hofer fire pucks down at the Winnipeg net right here behind us here. As Mark Scheifele, he always likes to be last off the ice for warm-up. He stayed out there, and this went on for about 5 minutes. The crowd in this building was booing. And Scarter Neal was asked about that today, and he said the league is actually going to take a look at it because they can't just have players staying out 5 minutes past warm-up. The Zambonis need to clean the ice. They need to get into the pregame here, and they're delaying puck drop. I found that really interesting today from Scarter Neal's availability.
Yeah, he said he'd leave it to the league. I think that the one thing, too, is will that still be the case where you're in St. Louis and theoretically couldn't Hofer be the last one on the ice?
Right, yeah.
I mean, it's
home ice advantage, last change.
Yeah, that's very true. So if Joel Hofer is shooting a puck across the ice and it's hitting Mark Scheifele without a bucket on in the head, that would be a pretty interesting injury report, to say the least. I think the league would hate that. But then again, I mean, when he's in when he's in his own barn there, I don't know if Scheifele will get the last change.
For sure, and this crowd did not like it. Joel Hofer, the local product with the heel turn, this crowd was booing him the whole time, and they definitely did delay warm-ups. They were out there an extended 5 minutes as well. So this has been the Winnipeg Sports Talk Practice Report. He's Jacob Stoller from Sportsnet.ca. I'm Connor Rabchak. Thank you, everyone, for listening.
All right, great stuff with Jacob and Connor. Couple things to note. First of all, if you missed it, there is post-game content from last night that is up with Remis and Connor from the rink. It's audio only. You can get it on the podcast. We did post it as well to the YouTube. Just if you want to listen, it's easier to get it there. That's there. And then 7 o'clock tonight, they're going to be going live as well. For more, listen, people can't get enough Jets talk. We're going to give it to you on Winnipeg Sports Talk. They'll be firing it up tonight, 7 p.m. Another good reason to make sure you're subscribed to Winnipeg Sports Talk. It's very simple. You just press that button and turn your notifications on. So when there is new content coming out throughout the playoffs, you'll be able to get it ASAP. Check in on the premiere, get in on the chat and all of that. So 7 o'clock tonight, set your alarms, join the gang for more Jets and playoff talk here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. And pop by, leave a comment, give a thumbs up to the post game as well from the fellas last night. Love the fact that we've got some practice reports from the guys, and we'll continue rolling with those throughout the playoffs. One thing a lot of people, certainly the Jets, aren't thinking about right now is golfing. I am, however, and many Jet fans are. What could be better than mixing in a couple rounds on an off day while your team is cruising in the Stanley Cup playoffs? Things are looking good for the Jets, and man, they're looking good for golfers as courses open, and Breezy Bend opening this week. Cannot wait to get out and swing it at one of Winnipeg's top private clubs, the host of the 2025 Manitoba Open, I will remind you, and we'll be out there doing live shows later on this summer when Breezy gets a chance to show off the new course, all their improvements, as well as what they've done with the clubhouse and more to the province at the biggest golfing event of the year. If you're interested in information about getting on the waiting list and making Breezy Bend the future golfing home for you and your family, give our pal Corey Johnson a call over at Breezy Bend, and you can check out more information on everything going on over at Breezy online at breezybend.ca. All right, let's get Remis in here. Remo, we got to get to these cool bet lines, but busy times right now on WST. You guys kicking out the post-game show, and listen, as if there wasn't enough Jets content already on the program, Connor and Jake are going to fire it up tonight as well.
Yeah, and a lot of content here. We got some good stuff on our Instagram as well with lists on the street at the street party.
Great job by Liz out there mixing it up with the people.
Some good stuff in there. And yeah, we did the post game, had a bit of a camera issue. Did not feel great last night, but we do have audio. It sounds good. You just can't look at us. Maybe that's a good thing because everyone was commenting on our looks, not the content in the YouTube comments for after game one. Talking about me and seeing me without a hat on, me and Connor in a suit.
Oh yeah, he looks like that headshot, the famous headshot that an artist re-rendered in a pencil drawing.
So without the visual, you can just focus on our great Jets takes.
Well, the funniest thing, I mean, we'll say this: we have fun when we screw up, and we all do. I probably shouldn't have texted you. I didn't realize how late it was when I texted you last night, wondering what was up with it. But I listened to the entire thing. It was excellent. But at the end, as I'm watching and listening on YouTube without video, you talking about how great the suits look and everything like that, I almost actually put a comment in, and I figured, no, I won't do that. You'd probably be stressing about it. So anyways, we had some fun. It was very, very good, though. So whether you get it on the podcast or listen on YouTube, highly recommended, and that is going to be coming up after all of the games this series.
Yeah, it's going to be I posted it at 12:30 last night. I usually get it a bit earlier than that, but again, ran into some issues that I had to audible, which is fine. You can still hear the great content, but we will have video after the game Thursday. And it's it's playoffs. The players are going hard. We're going hard too. A lot of late nights for me, and Thursday with an 8:30 start. I might just post that thing like 1:30 a.m. I don't know when the game will be done at midnight. We'll send the press conferences after. Record 20 to 30 minutes. Pretty easy, digestible content. Immediately after the game, we go through all the plays, give our hot takes on them, and looking forward to what Game 3 brings. It's a lot more fun than being up 2-0. A lot more fun than 1-1 the last 2 years.
I am predicting this might not be a Husk guarantee. Maybe I will make a guarantee that the bars in Winnipeg are going to be insane on Thursday night for this Jets Blues game that starts late. It's going to be like probably the old Central Division 8:52 puck drop, which is going to give people plenty of time to watch the other games, get a few in them. And whether at your local Boston Pizza or some of the places downtown or wherever your neighborhood watering hole is, a Thursday night, late night game with the Jets with the opportunity to go up 3-0. It's going to be a good night to get out with your friends to watch the game at your local BP or wherever you go, and maybe plan a lighter morning on Friday because of that. And best case scenario, maybe you can just take the whole Friday off and get started with a long weekend on Thursday night. Let's get over to the Cool Bet lines. Fun lock shop today with Nielsen, talking lots of Jets, lots of Oilers. That's up in the Edmonton Sports Talk channel. Let's get to tonight's games, and I'll give you an update on these series prices. Tonight, the Canes, minus 278 favorites against the Devils. Devils plus 230. Not a lot of faith many have in New Jersey right now with where they're at. Ottawa, just a plus 140 underdog in this one. There were some good things that happened for Ottawa. They got to be more disciplined. The Leafs look good, though. Leafs minus 164 favorites, looking to go up 2-0. And we get the first game between Florida and Tampa. That's going to be a 7:37 start tonight. Actually, this might be the first time I've seen one of the East games. So that's an 8:37 start in Florida, Remis. Not too often the East teams get the Central Division treatment, but that's happening tonight.
These times are terrible. Look at this Vegas, Minnesota one. Do you see when it starts?
Yeah, 10.
10, yeah. 8
Yeah,
Pacific.
that's just 8 in Vegas.
I mean, it's 11 Eastern time. So I guess people in the East not happy.
That's fine. I mean, look, I think they've done a great job with these games. You always complain that the games are at the same time. So now we get a 5 o'clock game, a 6:30 game, a 7:30 game, and a 10 o'clock game.
Oh, I think, yeah. I mean, I don't mind, but maybe the other people, they care. But yes, I'll agree with you. I will be up watching. I want to see Minnesota lose. I want to see them get, called for all the penalties while Vegas gets to do whatever they want, and see Minnesota fans lose their mind online.
Not just Minnesota fans, Minnesota writers as well.
I think every series...
Prime playoff Russo right now. This is playoff Russo losing his mind on the officials when the Wild are playing.
Every series seems to have issues with officiating. I'm seeing stuff not called in the Montreal-Washington game yesterday that probably would have got you ejected from Jets Blues based on what the standard has been in Jets Blues. It seems like every series anyone can complain, but I just think that's what it is in the playoffs. Everyone wants to complain about everything. Every call is that much more under a microscope. While it's in regular season, maybe you don't care as much, but every power play intensified.
There's been some weird ones. I couldn't believe the Shen, when he kind of gave the neighbors the head rub and his helmet came off, and that was 2 minutes.
He was laughing in the box.
I no kidding. He couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe it. I guess that's an automatic rule if you take a guy's helmet off. But come on, people. Anyways, back to tonight's games. We do get game 1 at 7:30 or just afterwards. Panthers, Lightning, Tampa minus 121, Florida plus 103, and then the nightcap. Vegas minus 221, and the Minnesota Wild plus 190. Just before we get to the series prices, don't forget, check out in the promotions. If you're betting hockey or NBA playoffs, you've got 3 options for the bonus this week. One is a playoff weekly bet builder insurance. If you like to do single game parlays, you'll get a bet builder ticket with a 15% insurance on that. My personal favorite is the weekly win boost, where you get 1 bet a week to add 30% in profit boost with a minimum total odds of minus 125. And then the other one is the bet and get, where if you bet $30 on NBA or NHL, you'll get a $15 free bet. So pick whichever one you like in the promotions. You just click on claim bonus and then go after it. So 3 great options for a playoff bonus right now over with our friends at CoolBet. Now, back to the NHL playoffs. One thing that's quite interesting, Remis, and this is the first time this has happened all year long. Guess who's the second lowest odds in the league to win the cup is?
Second lowest?
Yeah.
Is Montreal the lowest?
No.
Oh,
no.
Sorry. You mean the
second favorite to win the cup?
Sorry, the second favorite. Sorry, my bad. Second favorite, Vegas.
The Winnipeg Jets.
What? They're never that high. Is Toronto number 1?
No, Carolina is number 1.
What?
Again, doesn't make sense to me.
That doesn't make sense. Oh, Vegas
I'm not
is
as
right in there.
big in on Carolina as the odds makers are. I guess they've got a lot of nice underlying numbers. But the Jets now with their 2-0 lead, showing what they've done in the playoffs, have dropped from 10-1. It was 7-1 when we did the lock shop earlier today, and there's obviously some action coming in on Winnipeg because the Jets are now plus 675. And right now, the Jets are the favorite to win the West at plus 325. Colorado and Vegas are plus 350. So it took a while, maybe for some people to watch a couple playoff games, but for those of you that got in on the 15-1s and 13-1s earlier on Winnipeg, you're looking pretty good right now because the Jets number has gone down significantly with their 2-0 lead. They're plus 675. Rest of the cup odds, this is to win the cup. Avs 7-1, so very close between Winnipeg and Colorado. Vegas plus 750. The Panthers are now 9-1, and they haven't even played a game yet. They were in that 7-1 range beforehand. So if you do like Florida, this is a great time to jump on the Panthers. 10-1 for the Lightning, the Leafs, the Capitals, the Kings 11-1, and then the 2 teams that have dropped the most. The Dallas Stars were 7-1. They're now 14-1. And how about the Edmonton Oilers, Remis? I mean, the Oilers have been in and around 7-8-1, been one of the favorites all year. They kind of faded back to 10-1 heading into the playoffs. But after losing last night, a game that I think the Oilers can actually take a lot from in that series, they're now 16-1. So, I mean, I'm not suggesting you bet anyone other than Winnipeg to win the cup. But if you are an Oiler supporter or think that they can still get it done, 16-1 right now on Edmonton, and we haven't seen a number that big on the Oilers since early last season when they sucked.
Yeah, I think a lot of these numbers are dictated by where they are right now. Like the Jets are up 2-0, so they have a better chance of moving on, and Carolina won game 1 very decisively, and I don't want to say they're a lock to advance, but very highly probable that they're going to advance. And Florida, they haven't played a game yet, so they're going to be down. So you're right. If you do think Florida, that is a good opportunity for them. Tampa as well. So
if you're out on Carolina, there's some pretty juicy numbers to win the East. Like Carolina's 2-1 to win the East. I don't get it. And watch them go to the Cup final. But the Leafs, Panthers, and Capitals, all plus 450. The Lightning 5-1, and then the teams that are down are like Ottawa 30-1, Jersey 40, Habs 50-1. But it is wild. I mean, the Oilers have the longest number to win the West outside of Minnesota and St. Louis at plus 850. So have some fun over in the futures section if you're looking at cup odds. Series prices now, Jets minus 1250 to win the series. Blues plus 750 to win. The Caps minus 526 favorites after their Game 1 win. Vegas minus 588. The Leafs minus 455. Tampa and Florida, which gets going tonight, is really close to a pick 'em. Florida's slight favorite, minus 116. Tampa's minus 104. After Game 1, the Oilers plus 175 to win this series. I don't mind that. And if they end up winning Game 2 in LA, that number is going to flip the other side. So again, there's a good this is a great time to bet the Oilers if you think they could win this series and challenge for a cup. Dallas, Colorado. Colorado back with the sweep, minus 182. Dallas is plus 150. And then the Canes are minus 667 favorites. People are so out on New Jersey. I know they're missing Jack Hughes, but I'm stunned at just these numbers for Carolina right now, Remis, and I don't really get it. I'm sure there's some analytics to it and some underlying numbers that the bookies really lean on, but I have a hard time buying the Canes as a clear-cut favorite in the East right now.
I like Lucas Mayseal's comment. I agree with him. Carolina has the easiest route to the cup.
Oh, that's definitely in it.
And I think that's part of it for sure. And yeah, they're up 1-0. I think they're big favorites in that series. They did kind of fly under the radar coming in. Carolina, everyone's kind of like, they can never get it done in the playoffs. They don't, they traded away Rantanen. They can't get over the hump. Their goalies, God, question mark. So maybe this is secretly Carolina's year where everyone's written them off, like Washington a couple of years ago after so much failure, and they do get over the hump. So I'm curious how Carolina, I don't know who they're going to play in the second round. Is it going to be Washington or Montreal? Could be a good series and, nice path to the conference final.
What a fun show today, as they always are after big wins. Huge numbers. Again, appreciate everyone. If you're new, welcome to WST. Hit that subscribe button. We're here at 1 p.m. Monday to Friday, but we're cranking it up in the playoffs. WST Sunday Live, Sunday mornings. We've got post-game coverage that'll be on later on after the game. Just turn your notifications on. And again, tonight, some extra bonus WST Hockey Talk. Connor Jacob firing it up 7 p.m. here on the YouTube channel tonight. So turn those notifications on and head over for more from the fellas as this series shifts over to St. Louis. Jets are going to have a full practice tomorrow before leaving to the Lou. We'll have plenty on that, as well as find out what color jersey Gabriel Velarde's wearing tomorrow. Coach Arneal had a sly grin when asked about that today and said, just come to practice tomorrow and you'll see where he's at. So not ruled out for Game 3. I think it's probably more likely he plays Game 4 or 5. But again, we'll find out tomorrow and we'll be all over it here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Thanks to everyone who joined us today. Tell a friend about Winnipeg Sports Talk. If you got a Jets fan that somehow doesn't know what we're doing, let them know and how to subscribe and join the party. Shout out to just about everybody in chat today. Just kidding. People do need to chill, though. And a huge thanks to all of our sponsors that make the show happen each and every day. Could not do it without you. Tomorrow on the program, we will have plenty more on the series. Practice report as well. The latest on Gabriel Velarde. And who else is coming on tomorrow? I believe we've got Hammer, maybe
Brandon's good for tomorrow.
Yes. Okay. So Ruicki, looking forward to having him on. We'll also maybe hit a couple of the other series with us being on, kind of an extended double off day for Winnipeg and St. Louis. But join us tomorrow. Don't forget about the extra show tonight. Have a great one, and we'll see you tomorrow, 1 p.m., live right here on Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Have a good one, gang.
Oh, my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.